And greetings, you grotesque maggot-infested morsels from the morgue, and welcome to the Horrible Horror Show. And I'm Matt, and joining me today is a very special guest, a director, writer, musician, special effects, gore artist, Brian Paulin. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing good. Good. Thanks for asking me to come on here.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you agreed to, and it was awesome to have you back.
Yeah, it was fun. The other times we did stuff was fun, so it's like, yeah, definitely going to do it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and like I'm using a different program and everything now, so hopefully this will be smoother than it was last time, because last time I had to use like Messenger and stuff, and it was a little awkward, but we got the job done.
This looks great.
Thank you.
Love the intro. The intro is awesome.
Well, I appreciate that.
I guess that the coming soon, the audio on that coming soon, that was awesome. I have that album.
Yeah,
I love the Halloween album,
dude. I'd love to own the vinyls or the records, because there's a record store that's near me, and I asked the dude like last year, like a few months before October, I was like, do you ever get any like Halloween records? They're like, dude, I really can't say. Like sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And they just didn't have anything this year, but they get a lot of good stuff, like good metal records and stuff like that. But
that's cool.
I was really kind of looking forward to like maybe someone coming in with like an original of something like that, because I'd love to own it.
Yeah, I got lucky. There's a store about 45 minutes from here,
Mm-hmm.
and I just happened to ask him. It was in October, and I saw he posted it on Instagram, so I went and looked, and he had a section, like a whole stack of stuff. And they were pretty cheap. They're only like $15 or whatever. Instead, they weren't like 40 or anything. I ended up buying 9 of them.
Yeah.
One of them, I think it's Night in the Graveyard or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what that one was. I think that's Night in the Graveyard. Yeah.
I used to go to sleep to that all the time.
Really? That's brutal. Okay. That I used to like listen to that, but dude, I don't remember like. Well, I mean, I was born in '89, so like records were like things like my parents had. And like every once in a while we dabble with them, like, but it was usually what my parents, like my mom had, like Rod Stewart or some stuff like that. You know, it wasn't like any kind of like stuff that I really listened to. But we had like cassettes that you would get around like Halloween time.
Yeah.
And they would have like, some of them were like mixtures of like Halloween themed dance songs, and then like some of them were like spooky things like that with like noise effects and stuff, and I used to listen to that. I wish I would have kept some of that stuff, but I have no clue what it was even called, like the name of it.
Originally, I got it on cassette because I was in a record store, and I think it was on the counter. I was like, "Oh, I'll grab that." Yeah, I listened to it forever, and then I just a couple of years ago, I got a hold of the vinyl, which I didn't even think it was even on an album. I was like, "Oh, no way!"
Oh wow!
I was psyched when I found that.
How long? Just to ask real quick before we get in, like, how long have you been like collecting like records and stuff?
Well, I started off when I was a kid. I got like my first album when I was 6 years old. It was a Kiss Love Gun.
Nice.
And the first one I ever bought with my own money when I was a kid was Heaven and Hell from Black Sabbath.
Oh, sick.
And I would just always buy albums. And I think, I can't remember when it was. I don't know if it was the late 80s or the early 90s. I think the last album I had ever bought before they just kind of disappeared was Creator, Out from the Dark into the Light, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
It's a live album. And then after that, I went straightly all cassettes and CDs, and I just started collecting again about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love it. I'm obsessed with them. So
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I recently just got because I like video games and stuff too, but I really like horror style games. But they so you ever heard of the game Splatterhouse?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've never played it.
So it was like originally arcade game, and then they had like the second and third one came out for the Sega Genesis, but they released the record for the first game. And hold on, I just want to show you it because I just think the cover art's really, really cool. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
Gosh. How unprofessional, right? To like walk off camera.
Cool.
But yeah, like just super it's like, dude, it's like the first game that really like showed like really gruesome gore, in it.
Yeah, that's why I remember reading about that, saying that was like the first gore heavy game.
Yeah, dude. It's really cool to find that. But anyways, I want to thank you so much for coming on again. And for anyone tuning in, would you mind just kind of sharing like a little bit about you and what it is you do?
I'm just a massive horror fan, and me and my friend Rich George, before we started making movies, we just always hung out where we would have what we called GORE nights, and we'd go out and rent a bunch of movies, and it just got to the point where we wanted to get a hold of a video camera, and we started making our own short horror films. That was back actually in 1990. I think we were just out of high school.
Dang.
We've been doing it ever since, practicing more and more. He ended up going to a stunt academy, so he was on a stunt team. That's why some of our movies have, we actually have stunts and stuff and car
right.
And he was in charge of all that, and I was the one that started makeup effects. I started actually learning makeup effects when I was still in high school. And just, after each movie, we would jump into the next one, and we just, with all the practice, we just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's not a career or anything because you can't really. It's not very easy to have a career making these type of movies, especially since it takes us like 3 years to finish one.
Mm-hmm.
But all the people that help us, they're mostly all friends or people we meet at horror conventions. It's basically a bunch of horror fans getting together, having fun, making movies.
That's so awesome. And like to even like speak on that too. When I was watching the making of and then the outtakes for Septic last night. And I'd watched them before, but I was just kind of rewatching it, and dude, it just looks like you guys have so much freaking fun. Like, and it's like everyone's saying it's cold, the blood's cold, like everything's real cold, and you can see your breath. Like you guys are just out like in these like cold conditions doing it for like the love of it, and you're all laughing and having such a good time doing it. Like,
depending on who's on set when we're filming, sometimes the night goes a bit longer because we're joking around, we're laughing so much, we're just having a great time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, every time someone comes here, I want everyone to have fun when we're doing this.
Yeah.
But I'm not making a living off of it. We treat it as obviously it's a business. We treat it as a business, but at the same time, we have as much fun as possible. And a lot of people usually say the first time they heard, like, wow, you guys are so laid back. We're like, well, we're not a studio. We have resources to get these out once they're finished. But while we're making them, we want to have as much fun as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like it's all like fun in the games from what I mean, you guys obviously you're taking it serious, what you're doing, like trying to get this particular like shot and get the blood to look right and everything like that when you're shooting it.
Yep.
But it's just really like cool to me because you've been doing it for like a very long time, honestly. And yeah, dude, and you guys are like still finding joy in it. Like you know how like people talk about like bands do it, and anyone that does any kind of art, like they kind of get burned out.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever like feel that way, like at all? Like,
Surprisingly, not as bad now, but there was times, yeah, I think probably more like bone sickness, blood pigs, or whatever. When I was doing those, there were times I wanted to quit. I was just like, I've had enough. Maybe this will be the last movie or whatever. It was once it got to a point, I think, after Cryptic Plasm, that I realized, okay, you know what? The dream of making a living off of this and having this be your career, that's not going to happen. So once that was kind of out of my head and it wasn't like something to get disappointed about, it made it so much easier. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this for fun. We're doing this because this is what we love to do.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, we take the business side very seriously, but once we acknowledge the fact that that dream wasn't attainable because of the way we make movies, it actually made it much easier and more relaxed. So I don't find myself going, oh my God, I'm sick of this. I'm quitting. No more. Now it doesn't happen. Now it's more like, this is kind of like therapy. The world sucks so bad now. And then, everything's just turned to shit. That is just like, when we're filming, we're in our own little world and we're having fun.
That it's so crazy to like when you say that too, like you kind of realize like, oh, we're not gonna like, basically like, I'm not gonna make a career out of this, like you're saying, and it kind of blows my mind because like the stuff that you make, regardless of like the budget, it's really good. Like I feel like you're kind of the first person that when it comes to like real underground horror that I kind of picked up on. I mean, your material is like top tier. It's like when I saw like Cryptic Plasm, like at first I'm like, oh, this is, I can tell this is low budget, a lot of, blah, 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 blah. And then it's just like the way you shoot things and the way that like that movie and all your movies, like there's like a Lovecraft like thing to like maybe not every single one of them, but to all of them where it's like they start off, how do I say this? Like, kind of like story, this is what's going on. And then the way that things just get freaking like twisted into like madness by the end is just like straight up like the Lovecraft like narrative, where it's just like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. This is insanity. It's like, I'm going mad. Like it's really cool. Like your film style is unique, I think. Like the way you shoot movies, like no one else shoots movies like you do.
That's cool to hear. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if maybe it's because I'm a huge fan of Lovecraft, and even though we always go for extreme gore and everything, if that's all we did, if we just made gore films, it would get boring. It'd just be like we were doing like effects reels. So I enjoy telling complex stories, and I like a lot of like we were just talking about the Halloween album there. I like a lot of traditional horror. I love atmosphere. I love ghosts and goblins and all that crap.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just. It's funny, actually. Septic was very restrictive. I had a blast making it, but it was also it held me back a bit because it was so reality based. All the gore,
very true.
Everything just had to revolve around humans. So that was kind of like, oh wow, I would come up with some ideas like, oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I enjoy, horror is supposed to be scary. I try to make, I don't know if we pull it off, but I try to make the story also scary because that's what horror is supposed to be.
Yeah. And I think you did a really good job with that with Septic. Like the like your character in it is very convincing. The doctor dude, I can't like, is it Wu?
Dr. Wu.
Yeah, and like he just has like a creepy aura to him. Like the way he delivered his lines and stuff like that. Like I don't know. There's something like to that film too, regardless of like maybe the cosmic horror side of it. It's still, I could see it definitely. It's not for the average moviegoer.
Yeah.
Because obviously doing with Red Room and stuff like that. So if you guys haven't seen Septic, it's brutal. And it definitely goes places that you didn't expect it to go. And it's like, oh shit, okay, this is happening. That's pretty fucking metal, Like,
but also the thing with Septic is we couldn't. I mean, the snuff thing had already been done a ton of times. This just kind of came up with. There was no intention to even make a full length movie. We were just making a short at first, but I wanted the character story. I'm like, I wanted to get to know these characters, get to know why they're doing this, what they're thinking and everything. So then once, the extreme gore does happen, it has that much more of a punch to it. So hopefully the audience is sucked in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just like, that's so awesome to me. Like what was like your inspiration? Like, I know you said, and I think it's really cool that you said, like, you guys had what you called, like, you actually called it Gore Nights.
Yeah.
So like what were the movies in particular that made both you guys kind of look at each other and be like, dude, I think we can do that? Like, did you have like a moment where you're looking at each other on the couch like, dude, I think we could do that? Because there's something like that.
That would have, see, when we're actually doing that, it didn't seem doable. It didn't seem attainable at all. I had no idea that we could even stop making, short films and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When we were first doing like the Gore Nights, I remember one night, I think it was the first time we had rented, back then it was called Gates of Hell, Fulci's Gates of Hell, and New York Ripper. And we watched those back to back. Wow. So we were just blown away by the gore and the atmosphere and everything, just the look of those movies. So that obviously had a huge influence. It was once I finally saw The Evil Dead. I can't remember exactly when I had seen that movie. And the strange thing is that's one of my favorite movies of all time. But at the time when I saw it the first time, I didn't quite get into it as much as I thought I would. It wasn't until I watched it a second time, and then I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I got totally obsessed with the movie. That was the movie that made me go, you know what? Maybe we could do kind of something like that. It just takes place in the woods and, keep it simple. And that's what kind of inspired us to say, back then it was very difficult because we were just out of high school and still in high school when we were thinking about it. But even just the VHS camcorders were $1,000 to start.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, like, how are we going to get a hold of one of these things? But I think Rich's cousin, it wasn't a VHS camcorder either. It was one of those smaller, they were called 8mm.
Oh, yeah.
And we borrowed that, and that's what we made our first Sacrificial Birth 10-minute short. That was the first thing we had done, and we used his cousin's camera for that. But once that was finished, we were just hooked.
And it just kept going from there. Like, when did you, I guess, as you guys are like making movies, what was the first one that you actually did you make physical copies and try to give them to friends or anything, like on your first few that you did? Like
we made the first 3 within like 7 months or something. Sacrificial Birth, we shot that in August of 1990. And then right after that, as soon as we finished that, we made Final Scream Out in the Woods. That was 30 minutes long. We finished, I think we had a complete copy of Sacrificial Birth by September. And then right at the beginning of September, we went out in the woods and we started shooting Final Scream. And we finished that by the end of October. And we had a Halloween party. We showed all our friends those 2 movies together. And then I think in February or March, we started shooting the third one, The Shifters. So we cranked out 3 shorts within like 6 months.
Dang. And just addicted to it. Like you just had all these ideas, like, and you were doing this like right after high school, you said?
Yeah, I think it was about, I think a year or so, within a year after we graduated. And when we were in high school, we never took any audio visual classes or anything like that. We had 0 experience. I had never even held a camcorder before I started shooting Final Scream, the second one.
Wow.
So it was just practice. We practiced, had fun, and just, see if we could do it.
Isn't it crazy now how, like, you can basically make full-length movie right on your phone nowadays? Like, I think Joe Bob is even like said that. And I know a lot of people that support underground like filmmaking and stuff are just people to become filmmakers, because everyone gets bogged down with, Yeah, I mean, there is obviously like you have your Tarantinos and stuff like that, but everyone kind of gets wrapped into like, oh, I can't make a movie because you have to have these certain set of skills, and it's really not true. Or I have to have this education to do this, and I have to come from this school, and obviously that stuff helps with getting into the industry.
Yeah.
But like it's not what makes a good movie. The best education obviously that you got, and many probably people that got into doing making films or horror films and stuff like that, is just being a fan, like watching the movies, basically studying the movies because you like it so much. It's kind of like if you like metal, or like you like music a lot, and you get into like Jimi Hendrix or something like that, and you want to learn how to play guitar.
Yeah.
You start kind of doing your own thing. So it's kind of like that with movies, how you can just, people can literally just make amazing stuff with just your phone. And like, like, so I think it'd be kind of cool if we, kind of talked a little bit about that, like maybe, underground filmmaking compared, like we talked about, versus the industry standard.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I see people saying, they would love to make a movie. They want to try it someday. Someday they're going to try whatever. I always just tell them, just go for it. Just pick up a camera and start filming, even if it's just practice. Another thing I see a lot of people say is like they want to shoot a feature, like a full length movie first. And it's like, no, don't even bother with that, because you're going to put so much time into it, and it's going to be like your baby. It's like, oh, and then if it ends up coming out like crap and people hate it, it's going to destroy you. They're not going to be, they're going to want people to love it. But, just make like a 5-minute short first, or like a 15-minute short, and use it as practice, because you're going to have to learn how to tell a story through visuals. You're going to have to learn what shots you need to make it work, to make it, watchable. So, but yeah, just grab a camera and go for it. You don't need, you can use your cell phone now, and the cell phone is 100 times better quality than what I started with.
Dude, it's crazy when just when you like filming stuff with a camera, or seeing stuff that people like made with a camera, even when someone's doing something like lame, like just like a like TikTokers and stuff like that. Like I don't love that stuff, but it's pretty incredible what people have kind of like, how we're kind of evolving as people.
Yeah.
It's like we just make like really interesting videos in a matter of like 2 seconds that are basically like marketing to people.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what it is when it comes to like TikTok and stuff. But it's still kind of cool to see that how creative people can be, even if it's not like in a genre that I like or inspires me.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how far we've come.
I've seen some great stuff just skimming through reels on Instagram, and I'll come across some accounts. I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Funny, most of the stuff I end up finding like that, like reels and everything, it's never actual just short filmmaking. It's usually computer animation horror stuff, which,
Dude.
I'm always bashing CGI. But when I see one that's just, the whole thing is just CGI, little horror short, those are actually really cool. I've seen so many great ones.
Dude, I'm right there with you too. I can't remember who it is that I follow, but it's on Instagram. It's a few people, and I don't know how they do it, but it's like that AI generated video.
I've seen a couple of,
and it's like liminal space, and it's like these crazy looking like the stuff is actually pretty creepy.
Yeah,
like this the space and the way the monsters look and stuff. It's not something that your brain would naturally create typically.
I know everyone despises AI and everything and all that stuff, but when it comes to those videos, I do watch some of them, and I've saved some of them, because some of the visuals, I was like, wow, that is really interesting that came up. So I will save it. So I'll kind of like look at it and see if I'll get inspired to see what I can make, really make as a set or whatever. But there has been some stuff I'm like, that is actually really nightmarish. That is interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool too now, because now there's a lot of filters and stuff, and so people can make like the stuff that actually looks like retro, like something that came out of the 70s or came out of the 80s,
Yeah.
or has like that VHS look. And some of them look authentic.
A
Like,
while ago, I came across a program that did like you could choose the year too in the film stock, and one was like 1967, and it was a certain type of Kodak film. And I watched a preview. I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing. I was like, I want to make a short film and make it look like that with like the
yeah,
old stock look, because it's so creepy and eerie looking.
that's me too. It's like if I see stuff like that, that's what inspires me to either try to make a video, but but then it's also like trying to figure out how did they do that. So you're saying like when you looked up, there was like some kind of program that they're using that.
Yeah, I think there was an app that would it would I think you would use the app while you were filming, and you would just put in the settings, and it would turn your footage into that look.
Holy crap!
It was really cool. I mean, it looked amazing.
It's right before we started, I was listening to. Do you know the band High on Fire?
Yeah.
Oh,
so, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Dude, Matt Pike, like the new video they did for Burning Down.
Yep, that's one of the accounts I follow. That guy, I mean, some of his stuff he does, it looks like it's straight out of hell.
Dude, it's literally like, I think, like from watching that video, and I'm not 100% sure, but it's almost like they took parts of that movie. It's like that, I think it's from like the 20s, like Faust.
Oh yeah.
And they put it through that because you see like the scene like towards the end where the old man's like looking out the window, and out on the city you see like Mephisto or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like, but it's not him. It's like this mutant like monster thing that you can tell that it's being like the image is being like jostled around and stuff. But that like blew me away. Like, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure that's probably what he did. I'm not 100% sure. I want to get to the bottom of that.
Do it. I understand though, like I said, I'll see like that the stuff that guy does is insane looking. But then I was like, I saw a lot of the arguments about AI and everything recently, and I'm like, whatever. I'm kind of like, I kind of think of CGI. I hate CGI because it killed, makeup effects for a while and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the difference is that all he's doing is putting in words, I guess. I don't know how it really works. But yeah, what kind of pissed me off at one point, I'm trying to see like the argument side. I'm like, okay, even though I'm watching stuff like, wow, this looks really wild. Then I looked at his views, and it was in the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and all you did was put words in a program.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm lucky if I get 300 likes or something on one of my photos.
That's the part. Dude, that's the part. It's like real art. Like, when you're doing things like in camera.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how, I mean, I think that's just how it is now. Cause like TikTok is like so well, obviously TikTok's so popular because of all the different, like filters and all the different, like just video stuff that's made so easy for people to be able to either make the same kind of video as somebody else and follow a trend or whatever. Everything's made so easy now. And so that's the part of it, honestly, that scares me. Like I love like, like that, like Burning Down video where like the artist you were talking about, like how that looks. Cause it's like inspiring me if I was to like make something, like it would give me ideas. But in my head as an artist, I'm not saying, like I'm a great artist or anything, but like as someone that wants to be authentic in what I do, like I want to be able to say that I physically made every step of the way.
Yeah.
Like I didn't just go on a computer and type it in and it made it for me. And I had no real creative input besides words, Yeah.
I mean, as amazing as some of that stuff looked, I first saw it probably like 4 months ago, 5 months, 6 months ago, whatever. Mm-hmm. I've had no desire to go on and download a program and try it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing this for real. Yeah. To be doing this.
Speaking of that, like let's we can talk more about the AI stuff, but let's talk about your background here.
Yeah, this is it's one of the sets that I've been building during the winter because Very cold here right now. It got warm for a bit, but it's like 20 degrees right now. I'm in my basement. I do have a heater over here. It get pretty cold down here.
Nice.
But yeah, it got way too cold to do any actual filming, and a lot of it is outside that we've been doing. So wrapped a lot of that up in November, and during December, January, and February, I've been building 2 different sets in my basement, which takes place maybe 3/4 into the movie of Abysmal Purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically these large apparatus things that people get strapped into. This one, some pretty horrible stuff's going to happen to a friend of mine, Brandon. And actually, this one where I'm sitting is actually going to be kind of off to the side of the one my character is supposed to be strapped in. And basically, it's like a reveal in the movie. You know, I'm not going to give anything away, whatever. But some really nasty, cringeworthy stuff happens in order to find out some information for the movie.
That's awesome.
It's going to be nasty.
Dude, it seems like, you know, when there's like nothing more exciting like whenever you post like a new picture, and like some of them they'll be very like vague, but I like that because it allows you kind of use your imagination. Like, what is he doing with this? Like, what's going on with it? Like the last one you posted of just like this gruesome looking, it looks like a body.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like, I think I know what it is. I don't know if I want to, like, if I can say it necessarily on here, but like, just
so
like,
it's a torso. It's a torso piece that a person's going to be wearing.
Dude, it looks so brutal. Like
that was only like 1/4 of the way into painting it. And basically I ended up posting that because I had all this stuff I wanted to let people know, like all this is coming up and everything. But the problem is, again, from the winter is we haven't been filming much. I've only been creating stuff. I haven't been filming stuff. So I haven't had any new effects to show off or anything like that, or any new scenes to show off. So I had that sitting there and I had just enough. I'm like, you know what? I'll just take a weird shot of it. So at least I'll have a photo to post up with it instead of just text, because the photos obviously grab people's attention.
Oh yeah. Like
I think now that thing is complete. And there's no way in hell I can put that on Facebook the way it is now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, hopefully it's going to be very, very cringeworthy scene.
Oh, beautiful. Like, dude, just looking at the image, like just the pastiness of the skin, I thought looked really cool. Even though you said you weren't finished with it, just being able to see just the little bit of like gore and sores kind of looking stuff beneath the wounds or whatever kind of on the skin, like dude, it just looks so good. Like, looks beautiful. Like it's crazy how you can find like beauty in like, what do you think that is like in a person that like can, that not necessarily like, I'm not saying like, oh, I like to watch like actual videos of people being killed or anything like that, like actual snuff stuff.
It's the art behind it.
Yeah.
It's the art of trying to recreate reality, but take it into a more surreal, gory way, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though it's in real life, it would just be absolutely nasty to look at, but to see it, you know, a replica of it done with special makeup effects, that's where you kind of look at it like, wow, that's how I was. I'd see gore effects when I was, you know, still to this day, I see certain things. I'm just like, damn, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah. I know for me, like, when I was younger, my dad had the original Lucio Fulci zombie VHS. I think it might have been the media one, but I remember he had it down. Obviously we had a stack, and he kept it in the laundry room back down in the basement. And my family was very, like at least my dad and my stepmom, extremely Christian and stuff. But he kind of kept that stuff around because they just had a lot of the stuff that they just kind of forgot about down there. And so he had like, you know, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and like just, you know, Candyman and all these different ones. But when I saw that cover of Zombie, like the first time, like it really like freaked me out, because at the time, like I remember horror being so intense, like where I would actually get sick. I would get like, you know, when you're like a kid, you know, 8 to 11 years old.
Yeah.
Like my mom would let me like rent like Friday 13th movies and just different ones. And I would pick like, you know, different stuff from the video store, like every weekend. And I'd be like, I want to get, Friday 13th, whatever, part 2, whatever. She's like, no, you're going to get that. And you're going to, but if you get that, you better not scream and say, hey, I want to come sleep with your mom. And every single time I'd rent those movies, and I was always a little pussy, and I'd be like, Mom, can I come sleep with you? Because my mom would start fucking with me. Like she'd be in the room and she'd be like, in her bedroom, and I'd be in my room, and she'd be like, oh, and doing stuff. I'm like, stop, like scream, like stop doing that. And but I was just still obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Like, dude, we had a Christmas tree box, and I cut the Christmas tree box and made myself a little coffin.
That's cool.
And just did dumb shit like that. And like, but I was always intrigued by it, but I was always extremely afraid of it too at the same time.
Yep.
It wasn't until I started, stuff. I guess I just never thought all special effects, like someone is making stuff, like someone is doing this, it just, for some reason, never wrapped around my brain that, oh, there's someone that's, making a prosthetic, and they're doing all this stuff, and they're whatever. And then when you find that out, it's not so much scary anymore, as it's just like, you start seeing it as art, and it's just blowing your mind, and you fall in love with it even more.
Yeah.
But I do still feel like I wish I could sometimes go back to those times when I didn't know all the stuff that I feel like I know more now, because I used to just be scared more. And now it's more of just entertainment that I enjoy, Like, do you ever kind of feel that way? Did you ever feel that way when you were younger, or were you just always like, oh, this stuff's cool, I'm not scared?
Oh, no, not at all. Because, well, I mean, when I was as young as I can remember, I was always obsessed with Halloween. I loved anything ghost. I was just fascinated by anything paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So Halloween was just huge for me as a kid. But I grew up watching Godzilla movies and stuff like that. We had a show here in Massachusetts called Creature Double Feature.
Nice.
And it was like the best show ever.
Hell yeah.
They mostly played Godzilla, Gamera, Damasian, stuff like that. But they would also play the Hammer films, all the Dracula movies and stuff like that. So I started watching, I was growing up watching those as well, and the 50s black and white movies. So I was into that stuff. And again, that's probably also where my love for traditional horror and Halloween albums and stuff like that comes from. Atmosphere is just huge for me. I just trying to recreate something, trying to create a shot that gives me that feeling of when I was a kid, just like, whoa, just
yeah,
also wonderment over something spooky.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I didn't get into the violent stuff, the gory or horror movies until I was about somewhere between 11 and 13. I think maybe 11 or 12.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was scared to death of seeing blood in movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't take it at all. I remember being a kid. I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was like 6 or 7. And seeing Empire Strikes Back in the theater when he cut the tauntaun open and all the guts spilled out.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, ah!
Holy shit.
So, Star Wars freaked me out,
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was around 11 years old. And I had 2 older cousins, and they would always tell me about movies they watched. And I was fascinated by hearing about it. Even when I was younger, one of my cousins, she worked in a movie theater, and I remember seeing the commercials for Creepshow. And I think the commercials, it made it look like, it was supposed to be like the 50s EC comics and stuff like that. And because it was, more monsters and skeletons, and it was creepy looking, I became obsessed with it, even though I was afraid to see the movie.
Yeah.
And, I was at my aunt and uncle's house, and she's like, "Oh, I got something for you, Brian." And she comes out, and she had the whole one sheet of Creepshow.
Wow.
Like the original, really thick papered one.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Oh my God." And then she gave it to me. I couldn't believe it. I was scared. I was still too scared to watch the movie. I was really young, but I had it hanging up on my wall. And I would look at that poster all the time. I'm like, I love this. This is just, I was just in awe of that thing.
Yeah. Like I think it's always like that for me too, where I just always liked horror imagery. I always liked, I really like the way the old, like universal, like old posters you would see, like the Dracula and like Dracula and stuff like that. just the way that they were painted, and they just had so much character to them.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, they just so much detail, even if it was like a scene and like a face and a couple of the actors' faces or whatever. It just had like this really cool thing. Like that's where I started, was my dad showing me like Twilight Zone was a big thing, because we'd watch like the Twilight Zone marathon on like Turner Classic Movies. And that really got me into like the spooky, like I was really into spooky stuff. And then he would show me a lot of the black and white films. And I remember being in like elementary school and talking about like, like Dracula or Frankenstein. I can't think of like others right now off the top of my head for some reason, but and my friends at school, they'd be like, aren't those like black and white movies? How do you watch that? Like it was like a awakening for me. I was just like, gosh, like I'm a little different, or we're all a little different, like you just come from different backgrounds or whatever. Because most people weren't, like, I guess, didn't have parents that were either showing them that stuff, or they were more so just kind of watching what was current at the time.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And like my dad was, all into history stuff. So it was always kind of showing me older movies. And I really kind of took to like, Alfred Hitchcock and stuff like that.
That's
a lot, because it was just so beautiful.
I got kind of a funny story that has to go with me being, when I was younger, being scared of blood and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Is I actually got off track there. The cousin I was
sorry
about, his sister is the one that gave me the Creepshow poster, but he's the one that got me into horror movies. Oh wait, no, sorry, wrong cousin. That cousin, actually, he's the one you just posted recently. What was the first horror movie or whatever? He had bought The Howling. He bought a Betamax player, unfortunately for him. And he had The Howling. And he showed me that was the first full like R-rated horror film I had ever seen. And he was huge into werewolves. He's like, you gotta watch this movie. I'm like, all right. He's like, it's not that gory, don't worry, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I made it through, but I was just like, afterwards, I'm like, that was incredible. That was awesome. But years before that, when I was even younger, I had another cousin. They were both about the same age. This is the cousin that actually got me into metal and everything. He got me into Kiss, Black Sabbath, Van Halen, Ozzy, like in succession.
We all have that family member, right?
Yep. He was that cousin.
Yep.
But he was also huge into horror films. And he would tell me, I remember he went to the theater to see Friday 13th Part 4. And he was telling me about it. I'm like, I was fascinated hearing about it. But I'm like, I could never watch that. Ugh. And then at some point, I was staying over his house over the weekend. And his parents went out to eat. My aunt and uncle went out to eat. And we're just sitting there. He's like, hey, Friday 13th, the first one's on TV tonight. I'm like, oh, no. And he's like, it's on TV. They're going to cut all the violence out.
Yeah.
Like, just sit there and check it out. I know you're going to enjoy it. I was like, oh, he goes, trust me, they're not going to show any blood. They're going to cut it out. It's on TV. I'm like, all right. So we're watching. And I'm like, he's like, what do you think? I'm like, that's all right, but it's kind of boring. I mean, it's just the girl getting in the Jeep and everything at the beginning. And so I'm watching it, and he's like, oh, it's going to get better. Don't worry. And then she starts running through the woods, and obviously Mrs. Voorhees is going after her, but you don't see her. Mm-hmm. And then she gets up against the tree. She leans back, screams, and then you see the knife come up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't cut it. They just see whoosh, blood pouring out of her mouth. And I'm a little kid. I'm going, ah! And I run out of the room. And he's like, whoa. He's like, I didn't think they would show it. I'm like, you said they would cut it out. They would.
Dude, that's how it was. Like, I feel like for me too, like how you're saying, like, I was used to seeing with older movies where they would always cut before something, or you'd see the shadow of the guy like hitting somebody. You never actually saw the thing. And like, so I would do the same shit where it's like they would it's like it's about to happen, and you're like, is it going? Oh, this is happening. It's like, oh shit, it's actually happening. Because it didn't happen all the time. I'd say I see we're kind of talking about this. I've kind of went down a wormhole now, but like the when my cousin, which he didn't get me into like horror or anything, we played guitar together, and we kind of grew up playing guitar, and every time he'd come over, we kind of challenge each other, like, oh, I learned this riff, and we'd had that relationship. And so when they would come over to my dad's house, we would stay, back in the back bedroom. They would all go in the living room, and at night, they would put on a movie, and a lot of times they like to watch scary stuff. And so they were watching the original It with like Tim Curry.
Oh yeah.
And dude, I swear to you, like we crept down the hallway to see it because we could hear it going on and we weren't sleepy and we just wanted to see what they were watching. And I swear to you, dude, like we come out the hallway and it's literally the scene where like his eyes are glowing. He's like, "Don't you want it? Don't you want it?" And it's like glowing, and we're like, "Oh my God!" Like it's like freaking scared the crap out of us. Oh man, but that was like a big like a big thing for me. It's just so funny how like maybe it's just like it's like we say with metal, like metal's like rebellious or whatever. Maybe it's like horror was like you're rebelling against yourself. It's like I don't want to see that, but I do want to see that.
I was too scared to watch like R-rated horror stuff when I was younger and everything, but I was fascinated by it. And I remember buying a Fangoria magazine before I started watching horror, just because I wanted to look through the magazine because the pictures I thought were fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Like, is that where, like, I guess like the special, like when you started learning about material for doing special effects, did that kind of start with Fangoria, like reading articles and they're like, "Oh, we're using this," and you're like, "Oh, let me go find that," or
it came later because that actually, like I said, when I watched The Howling, I think I was like in 7th grade or something, maybe. No, I think it was like 7th grade when I watched The Howling. That's when I became obsessed with horror.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I was in 10th grade. I was just randomly renting stuff, and I rented the Fangoria video Scream Greats on Tom Savini. And I thought I was just renting like the behind the scenes and the making of horror films. I didn't realize it was about one guy. And when I was watching it, I was just like, I became obsessed. I was like, "Oh my God, this is what I want to do. I want to learn how to do this stuff."
Yeah.
And I started like, in the part of it, you see him with the machete with the hole cut in it, and he's rubbing it across his throat and stuff.
Yep.
Right after watching it, I went and cut out a machete out of cardboard, and I did that. I'm like, "Oh my God, it does work."
Yeah.
And then I remember just like, I had no idea how to make blood or anything. I remember grabbing food coloring and pouring it on my neck for the blood. Mm-hmm. And then also I'm like, "Oh my God, it doesn't wash off. Great."
Yeah. Yeah. It stains you pink or whatever. Like.
Yep. So that's how that started. I got into special makeup effects just because I just happened to rent Scream Greats Volume 1. And I was fascinated by it. So that's when I started looking at the back in the classifieds for Fangoria, and trying to see what catalogs had special makeup effects and stuff. And it was tough to try to figure out what I needed, what type of materials. I think I ended up buying right away. I bought Tom Savini's Grand Illusions book. And while reading that and reading about how he did certain effects, then he would mention latex and prosthetic grade cream to do the casts of people and stuff. So little by little, I'm like, okay, I'd write it down, and then I ended up placing an order, and I just started experimenting.
Dang, that is so cool, and it's cool that you did it like, because now information is just readily available, and like back then you had to be into it to like, either find an article or be into it enough to where eventually you find out, oh, they make videos on how to make this stuff.
Yeah. You had to research and hunt it down. You had to like hunt for information.
Yeah. Like if you look like in his book, like in that Illusions book, like he's talking about like where you get this stuff. And it seemed like it was like pain in the ass to get it. Like you have to go like get it from this certain place and what have you, or this is what I use and yada, yada. And like, I thought it was really cool when he was talking about like Dick Smith's like blood recipe.
Yep.
Like, dude, I don't remember it now, but did you ever try that?
Yeah,
like, that's all it was?
It's Karo syrup and a mixture of different colors, because you have to get that right look of red.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he said something I remember they used to say was, if you wanted it to spray more or be more runny, back then they used to put photo flow in, which was
what it was, that photo flow
to put in there, but then you couldn't put it in your mouth because it was chemical stuff. But yeah, I still use Karo syrup to this day.
Oh wow! Like, so is your blood recipe like sacred? Like as far as like what you
I mean,
use?
it's the same thing that he did. It was just, you know, it's care. If you're doing like gore stuff, that's not like, all right, you got a slit throat and you want to keep it bloody and all that. I use just straight Karo syrup and a good amount of red, and then I put in some green to darken it, to get that, you know, dark red look. And that's
Did
it.
you ever run into like complications with as far as like, okay, this is what the blood looks like with my eyes, like me doing it, and this is what's going to look like, and then looking through the camera and being like, that doesn't look right? Did you ever have like where I need to like kind of test this out because the way that the camera's picking up the light or the blood, like, was there any like thing you had to shift or learn like with
Sometimes,
doing that?
sometimes the blood would be too red, and even though with it too red is actually the realistic way blood looks, but
Mm-hmm.
cinematically it looks bad. As like Tom Savini mentions in for Dawn of the Dead, he said his blood looked like melted crayons.
Right.
So there's something about just a pure red blood. It just does not look good. So you have to darken it. So there's been times I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good. Just a couple of drops of green and mix it up.
Yeah.
Bone sickness. I still look in bone sickness, and some shots I'm like, oh, Jesus, I didn't do that right at all. For
Wow.
you know, the geysers, you know, blood spraying out.
Yeah.
I just didn't put enough coloring in it, so it kind of looks like Kool-Aid almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like translucent. So ever since then, I've always made sure to avoid that again. Always, it costs a lot more sometimes because you have to use a lot more coloring, but it's worth it because then it looks, you know, it looks the way it's supposed to look.
Mm-hmm. That's did we were talking about earlier, you know, with underground filmmaking and the and just like the industry standard or like maybe the big leagues or however you want to put it, like is there anything particular like you wanted to say about that, maybe and with stuff that you've personally had to deal with as an underground filmmaker?
What's, you know, still completely relevant now is it's the whole. I had a problem with some guy. It must have been in a group. I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere on Facebook. This was like 5 years ago. So,
Oh, okay.
and actually even longer ago than that. But this used to happen all the time back when I was making At Dawn They Sleep, and like Dead Girl on Film when I first started, when mini DV tape was first starting to become big. You would have the film people completely just talking all sorts of shit about us. You know, nothing we did was real. It wasn't worthwhile because it's not on film. Now you got people doing that with 4K.
Yeah.
And there was some guy, I don't know if it was someone just asking about advice about how to get into it, how to get stuff like maybe for cable or streaming and stuff. And there was one guy in particular. He's like, you have to shoot 4K. Don't even bother. Don't waste your time shooting anything unless you're shooting 4K. So I chimed in. I'm like, no, you don't have to shoot 4K. And like, I go, at the time, I was in the middle of, I think I just started making Septic. I go, the movie I'm shooting right now is still standard definition. It's digital, but it's still standard definition. It's not 1080p or whatever. And my movies are played on cable. They played at film festivals. And the guy wrote back, he's like, oh, yeah, okay, why don't you return to your little fantasy world, little boy there, blah, blah,
What?
Blah. He's like totally like trying to cut me down. You know, he's obviously a guy who works with, you know, he has a $20,000 camera and he probably shoots commercials. He probably does all this and he probably makes damn good money out of it because he was so cocky about it. But I'm like, no, seriously. I was laughing. I'm like, oh, you're funny. It's like, I love talking to people like you. I know people like me piss you off because you can't even fathom the fact that we actually shoot real full movies and festivals pick them up. They get picked up by distributors. It's being shown. And he's like, yeah, whatever. He refused to believe me. And a couple other people started laughing. And I'm like, if you want to make a movie, just go for it. Grab whatever camera you can. Don't worry about not having any money. Just do it. Just practice. Just start doing it. Make a 5-minute short. Said, don't listen to these assholes who tell you, unless you can spend 20 grand on the camera and don't even waste your time. No, screw that guy.
Yeah, like so I feel like so many people, and it gets harder as you get older, which I've found that, you know, so many people identify what's the word I'm looking for? Just identify with what you're doing in life that makes sense. There should be some kind of financial gain from it. Like you should be making money from it. If you're not, then there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people maybe when they get into wanting to make movies, maybe for the wrong reasons, they're thinking like, oh, you know, I can make good money doing this. And for example, like the guy that you were talking to, he probably did have like, you know, $20,000 camera, and he probably was shooting, you know, ain't no telling. I mean, he could just shooting really high quality wedding videos or commercials and stuff like that. And yeah, that will make you money, but like, and definitely you're going to get paid, but you really don't have much say in any of that.
No.
Like none of that is really you as much as it's your equipment. Like, you know, that's what it kind of feels like to me. Like you're not putting any, you know, you can put your artistic spin on it, but you're basically making a product.
I could have gotten into doing wedding videos. My friend Eli, who I haven't seen in a long time, unfortunately, but he's the one that got me into all the digital equipment when I was doing At Dawn They Sleep. Mm-hmm. The first part of At Dawn They Sleep was filmed by him with his camera, and he started editing the beginning of the movie, but he lived an hour away, and we realized, damn, this isn't going to work. How are we going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky. I was living at home with my parents still at the time, and I had some credit cards, and I just said, screw it, I'm putting myself in debt, and I just charged everything. I'm like, tell me everything I need. And I got the same camera as him, which was back then, it was the Sony VX1000. Mm-hmm. It was one of the most popular like prosumer cameras. Mm-hmm. It was $4,000 at the time. And I just took credit cards, and he built me an editing system, and I just said, screw it, I'm going to learn it. I want to do this. I know I want to do this bad enough. I'm just going to learn how to do it.
Wow.
And like, it took years to pay all that stuff off, but.
Oh yeah, that, you know, I bet. I mean, like when you got that first camera, like, do you remember what it felt like? Were you just like full of just like tons of inspiration? I'm sure, because you're like, oh, I can do this, and I'm gonna do this, and like just get really high.
I had been using his already, and he actually, surprisingly, he let me borrow it a couple of times. I'm like, you're really gonna let me borrow your camera? But
wow.
Yeah, once I had my own, I was just like, oh my God, I have like a semi-professional camera now. This is amazing. And it's great quality. And now we can make something that will be taken seriously. That was a great feeling, very inspiring, knowing that at least we're using the right equipment now.
Yeah, like, and you speak more on, you know, underground filmmaking and big stuff. It feels like, to me, like, I think it was obviously happening before, but it felt like once COVID kind of hit and all that kind of happened, that the movie industry, I felt like, really started to, not that it wasn't already, but it really started to show that it is just product. It is just manufactured film. It's the same. Like I was reading an article, and I can't remember I think it was on Reddit, and a guy was talking about, you know, same movies, same story, same actors.
Yeah.
And that's what you're getting a lot of. Like, I'm not hating on anyone that's into Marvel movies and stuff. That's great. If you're into comic books and that's your thing, that's all good. But it's like, I don't know. I have just gotten to this point, and not because the way I feel is the right way to feel, but it just takes me out of the movie when it's not tangible, when it's not like something that's really happening, when you're basically you're showing me something quite incredible on screen, like, holy crap, we're in space and there's this huge galactic fight, and like you're switching and going all over the place, but it doesn't feel real, because it's like, how much of the actor is really in this?
Yeah.
Like, he's just standing like this in the green screen, and everything, they're just filming around him and like editing him in and all that, and like post-production. And
a problem with the way movies are made now. It pisses me off, because it takes you out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent version I had of that is, and what's good is because you can compare it to the original. A month ago or so, I watched the new Indiana Jones movie finally.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm gonna go in with low expectations. It was entertaining, but I think it was something on they were on a train, and then I think the military came and they ended up jumping into the military cars and they left the train and it turned into a chase scene.
Is this the Crystal Skull one?
No, this is the new one. I forgot what it's even called.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one yet. Okay, I'm sorry. Good.
So they're doing this chase scene like in the old 40s looking cars and stuff, and now it's all green screen behind them. I'm like, this looks so stupid. And instantly I was like, instead of being like, whoa, yeah, cool action scene, I'm just like, it took me completely out of the movie. I'm like, oh, yep, here they go. They're just sitting in a car on a stage in front of a green screen. I'm like, why? Why can't they seriously? How come they're incapable now of just taking a car out in the desert, wherever, and just, they used to attach the cameras to the cars. Why can't you have no? So look at the original Raiders of the Lost Ark compared to the new movie. Everything was done in front of the camera, out on location.
Like you're literally like watching like the
like that.
Dude, you don't feel the intensity of the scene. Like, and when you watch like that movie, for example, it's intense because like when you see something happen, you're like, oh shit, I bet that actually really hurt. Because there's been several times where I've watched older movies and you can tell that, you know, they probably successfully did the stunt, didn't really get that hurt that bad, but it's like, I feel like he kind of ate some shit a little bit, you know, like you don't really see that much anymore.
No, because like, everyone's in front, everyone's just on a padded green screen sound stage and connected to wires. So everything, you know, it's just, it sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks. I mean, I'll get pissed off sometimes because I'm watching a movie. I'm like, seriously? CGI rain? You couldn't hold a goddamn hose up in the air in front of the camera?
Right.
I'm like, how fucking lazy are people now?
Oh, if you want to, I don't know if you saw it, but it took me a long time to get around to watching it because I just generally just didn't necessarily care that much. But I like a few weeks ago, I eventually watched the Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
Oh,
and dude,
Stacey just put that on the other night.
Oh my god. Dude,
I turned it off after I think 15-20 minutes. I think when all of a sudden it cuts to the two main characters and there's the green screen behind them, there's the road. Man. It looks so stupid.
Dude, the crows, the cemetery, that cemetery scene. Oh my god. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, wow. I mean, you know, like little videos I make, like I do green screen, and granted, it's not amazing, but it's like, I feel like when I was watching it, I was like, if I made a movie on, you know, the meager budget that I would have, it would probably look like this.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like, if I, you know, didn't have like location stuff and whatever, and I was trying to have to utilize like green screen. And it's just like, wow, this movie got like full like release and everything. And like, they probably made some money on it.
But now again, there is nothing wrong with green screen. Green screen stuff is awesome. I mean, when I was, you know, back in the early Star Wars and stuff, it was blue screen.
Yeah.
And because it still takes a lot to pull off those shots. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, everyone is so goddamn lazy. They use it as a crutch. And they're like, we don't have to do anything now. We don't even have to go out the door. We'll just turn on the green screen and we'll just do it later. I mean, it's just, there's no creativity to it.
No, there's not. I mean, the only time that's difficult to do anything green screen is if you don't have enough like lighting in a certain area, or you have a big green screen and you're trying to like, you know, make a little hill right here and then have your background and where everything looks right, it doesn't chop you out the image or whatever. You know, there's like some difficulties with it, but with like these studios and stuff, I mean, they have ample lighting, like they have billions of dollars of equipment, you know, millions of dollars of equipment to do all this and these huge rigs and all this stuff. It's like, there's no excuse. If you have all this money to do that shit, it's like, just do it real. Like, I don't know.
They just don't care anymore. They just try to do it the fastest way possible to just crank out the next product.
Yeah, exactly. It's the next product. And it's really, someone had said to me one time, where I was watching a video, and they were talking about. I mean, I like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I like a lot of the movies, like Total Recall and Commando is another one that I like a lot. And they were talking about Commando is basically Arnold Schwarzenegger's like demo reel,
Oh yeah.
and that's kind of what that's basically like the like industry standard of like movies with The Rock and like big names like that. It's basically all about him and all he's going to do, and everyone else around them is just support, and they really serve no purpose,
Yep.
is what it seems like. And I don't know, it's not filmmaking.
I mean, I understand obviously the industry part of it, and same thing. Like, if someone that goes to film school, I mean, you go to film school to learn the craft, to get a job, get a career, being one of those crew people or a camera operator or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, obviously. Again, also, if you're an indie guy and you want to, your goal is to make money, then okay, then just crank out short productions of full length movies where you don't really put much into it, but boom, you got the product out there. All you decide to do, well, like what we do, is just knowing going in, you're not going to make any money, but you spend all the time possible you can. So you're hopefully creating something that at least when people watch it, they'll appreciate it because they'll see how much work went into it. And the fact that you actually take time to entertain people rather than just cranking out a product. So, I mean, there's two different sides to it. Do you want to be a career filmmaker that, makes money, but you have no control of what you do? Or do you want to be able to have full control? And I prefer to be able to do what I want to do. And I just, the fact to be able to entertain someone, to me, that's the reward.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing it for so long, and you have great work, and you obviously have a loyal fan base, as far as, people that enjoy your films and stuff like that, me included.
It blows me away that even happened, that we actually have like a fan base that people like look forward to our next movie. I mean, I never take that for granted. I'm so grateful for that.
Oh man, like I said, like the whole thing with like Abysmal Purgatory is like, and I'm like, I mean it, like I'm not looking forward to really anything else right now. Like someone posted today, I think John Carpenter is gonna be like remaking The Thing with
I saw
someone.
something on that. I don't understand exactly what's going on with that, but
I don't either. And I'm like, I heard John Carpenter say one time, and I feel like this is probably how he's approaching it. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but he's an older guy, and obviously I know he obviously loves film, but it's like, I think at this point too, it's like I think he really just enjoys what he does with his son, like doing, the music and the live performances, and then also making these really interesting like music videos to his music and stuff like that. I feel like there was like a interview that's like really popular when he's talking about, how he basically didn't give Rob Zombie the rights or whatever, the okay to do Halloween or whatever. But then he was saying like, where every time they use that movie, or if they want to make a movie, I extend my hand and into it falls a check.
yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel like he's probably approaching this Thing remake. It's like, dude, The Thing has obviously resurfaced heavily over the years, and it's one of those movies that, when I first saw like the special effects in it, I don't even think today, even with CGI and stuff, that it's quite as like close to like that's really happening. Like that shit in that movie is really happening.
Look at the
Like,
Thing prequel. The Thing prequel, the CGI couldn't even come close to what Rob Bottin created in the original.
no, not a dude. The head ripping off and falling down, and the things like, the legs coming out of the dude's head, and like, what's crazy to me too when you're watching that, like, they would get it set up, and then, oh, this didn't work right. You got to redo everything or some of it, and then like start again. Like, dude, that's got to be so crazy. Like because the just the detail of like what he's created. And
Yep.
then like, do you ever run into that where it's like you spend a lot of time making this thing and you have an idea that you're going to pull it off and how it's going to be pulled off, but then it doesn't quite, you don't quite capture it the way that you wanted, or it doesn't capture the way that you thought it was going to come across?
Yeah, it's happened. It happens a lot actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's been times where we refilmed some gore effects because I looked at it like, that just it's not good enough. I'm not happy with it. It didn't quite get there. We did that with in the finale of Cryptic Plasm. I remember actually the shot of Rich George towards the end where he had his whole face has like a membrane on it, and you can see blood coming down, and he coughs in it. You can see it looks like the membrane like quivers.
Yeah.
That was added. We originally did a release of that because it took so long. We were doing a convention. We did like a pre-release, just a DVD-R of it, and like that shot and a few other shots isn't in that version. That I went back. I'm like, no, this didn't come out as well as I wanted it to. So we added more effects and made it better. I found better ways of doing things. So that was an example there. As far as stuff not like working out, sometimes there'll be times we'll do these huge complex effects and everything, and we'll nail it. We're like, oh, that's awesome. It all worked. There'll be other nights where everything's fine. There's no cables, there's no nothing. It's just all we need is the blood to come out. We're doing a geyser type thing. And it'll be like 2 hours later, we're like, what the hell? It's just, for some reason, just like something, the hose and with that hole where it's coming, something will just, why isn't it lining up?
Yeah.
There's been so many times where we're like, well, there was 2 hours to get 2 seconds of footage.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't imagine that. Like, I feel like I would get so frustrated with that part of it. But also, like, I think, like, okay, if you're, like you're saying, you're doing like a geyser scene, like, oh, we need all this blood to like freaking, come out. Then you have to like go back and maybe, doctor the effect up a little bit. And then also, do you have to like make more blood, or do you just kind of have like gallons of blood just kind of sitting around? Or
if we're doing a scene where we know we're definitely, if there's probably like 3 different shots for geysers to go off, each one is going to have at least 2 takes. So we'll have like a 5-gallon thing, and I'll fill it up. Maybe I'll fill like maybe 3 gallons into it, and I'll make blood in that. But it's also different if the geyser is coming out of an actor, because that we always try to make sure it's always clean, fresh blood. If it's coming out of props, we don't really care as much. So what happens is we'll usually have like 4 people. We keep our crews very small. I don't like having tons of people around. So a lot of times it will just be 3 or 4 of us. And Rich usually works the blood rig and with the air compressor and all that stuff. So the blood will shoot out. I'll say cut. And then we'll have 2 people. Sometimes it's even me. I'll put the camera down. 2 guys quickly scurry, grab big sponges, and we're on the floor going, choom, 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 choom.
Yeah.
Soaking up all the blood over a bucket, wringing it out, sucking it all up. And
so you're recycling.
We're recycling the blood, yeah.
Nice.
Because you kind of have to, because if we're doing a lot of different takes and it's a lot of different shots, next thing you know, it's like, yeah, you're out of blood. And sometimes we'll look over and like, oh, I only got so much food coloring left. We have to buy the big, bottles of it and stuff. But it does get expensive. So we try to find ways, like if it's just props, we don't care if dirt ends up in it. We don't care if whatever. The one time we'll make sure we'll have plenty, and whatever is when it's actually coming out of an actor, because I don't want to use spraying dirt over someone.
Isn't it really cool that you can say like you're basically, to an extent, like still like making films, and I feel like you're probably kind of doing the same thing that you were doing when you were younger. Like, I don't like you and like the guys that you make movies with and your friends, like you guys still do like movie nights and stuff like that, don't you? Like
not as much anymore, because it's tough. People have kids,
of course,
married and stuff. But one point about that, though, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's something I thought of when it comes to like telling, getting people motivated to just pick up a camera and just start filming and stuff.
Mhm.
We've been doing this over 30 years. Me and Rich George, we're still doing it exactly the same way as we did on Sacrificial Birth back in 1990. We still make movies exactly the same way. It's just we've had a lot of practice, we've got a lot more resources, and we can make our movies a lot bigger, and we're better at it now. But it's some nights, if it's just one effect that we're getting a shot of, just close-ups or whatever, or maybe it's just me, my character in Abysmal Purgatory. So many times it's just Rich George in myself, and that's it. It's just the two of us.
Wow, and it's like you guys have just maintained like a close relationship all these years, and that's really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't need even like a 10-person crew, which a lot of people say, "Oh, that's so small. You know, how can you only do it with 10 people?"
Mm-hmm.
We do it most of the time with 4 people on big effect scenes.
It's crazy, dude.
And you don't have all these extra people in the way, and you don't have to delegate all these different jobs and hope every single one of them gets it right. I love only having like 4, 5 people most. Yeah, obviously if you have like 4 characters in a scene, then you have like, 3 people helping you out behind the scenes. Then you get more. It gets bigger, whatever. That's just part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we actually pull off a lot of gore effects and everything with just 3 people sitting there, and that's it, including myself.
That's awesome. And like for what you guys can create too in such a small crew, and like pretty much a budget that's coming from you guys, or you guys collectively, like, or just you, I don't know, but like how does that work? Like, have you kind of gotten it down to like a science where it's like I can reuse like a lot of this stuff and we can still be creative with it? And so
the
like
good thing about doing effects for so long is I still have a lot of the molds from some older makeups I did and everything. And if I know if it's something similar, I'll just use the old mold and I'll rework the effect. I do a lot of fabrication now instead of sculpting. Fabricating, I have so much more fun with, which is basically, taking the older stuff or, making new latex appliances and stuff in the old molds and reworking it. I mean, so many of the heads and different gore effects I've done on Abysmal, they're all created out of molds I made 20 years ago.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I recycle everything. And I have a big box with just all latex pieces. Whenever something, like after someone does something, if it's like a full face thing or whatever, I won't just throw it. Even if it rips or whatever, like it gets put in storage. Every single piece of latex, even just shreds of latex, like, well, there's stuff to hang out of a gore wound, So everything gets saved and everything gets recycled, and it saves a lot of money that way.
Dude, that's awesome. I know you had brought some stuff with you for or some of your films that had gotten like a Blu-ray release, and just also stuff. I think VHSs too. If you wanted to share that.
Yeah, sure. Well, one cool thing that happened last year is we signed with Saturn's GORE. They're a subdivision of Vinegar Syndrome.
Nice.
So it's funny because
congratulations, by the way. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was very happy with it. It's funny because one of them, they had to talk me into it because, another subject we can get into later is, criticism and reviews and bad reviews and stuff, how it can kind of, how you react to it and everything. So the first one, the main one they put out so far is, At Dawn They Sleep. That's the Blu-ray for At Dawn They Sleep. And,
beautiful.
well, that's the slipcover, and that's right. And it's reversible, so the original cover, the old VHS, is still in there.
Who did a friend of yours do like the original artwork? Who did the original artwork for that?
No, the original one, I don't even. EI Cinema did that, and I have no clue who the girl is even on the Dawn They Sleep covers. I was told she was a model from LA.
Oh wow! Okay.
So, I sent him a couple of pictures, like a picture of Rich and I as vampires, and we ended up in the corners, and they hired this model, and they put fangs in her. But Saturn's GORE hired, I can't remember exactly his name, but they hired an artist to do the slip cover for it.
That looks
So
so
this is,
cool.
and this is our first Blu-ray. So, and again, back to that guy who said I was full of shit and I was living a little fantasy world.
Yeah.
This was shot with the Sony VX1000 camera, standard definition, and it's on Blu-ray.
Suck it.
Oh, and to go on also is they wanted to add another movie to this as a special feature, and he had always wanted to see Reap of Evil, but he never got to see it. And I said, oh, we have we never released it, but we have DVD-Rs that we sell at conventions. So I gave it to Ross, and he watched it. He ended up enjoying it. He goes, can we put this on as a special feature on the Blu-ray for At Dawn They Sleep? He had to talk me into it because I was like, that was shot in 1994. Is VHS quality? He's like,
Yeah.
People love it. People love seeing this old stuff, especially now that we've got a lot of movies out. People want to see the older stuff. So
yeah,
not only is this standard definition At Dawn They Sleep on Blu-ray, Reap of Evil is on this Blu-ray, and it was shot with a VHS camcorder on VHS tape, edited by playing it in a VCR connected to that camcorder and hitting pause and record on that camcorder over and over again. And that movie, that little nothing quality movie, is on Blu-ray, so that guy can suck it.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh,
but
my
also,
God.
But they also did this too. They did a film festival. They do it at a drive-in theater, and so they made special Reap of Evil VHSs.
Dude, that's a sick cover. Who is? I've never seen that one. So who's that on the cover? Is that in the movie?
That's Rich. That's Rich as a demon.
Dude, that looks. And you did like the makeup on him?
Yep.
I love
that was the first time I ever tried doing like full body. They were actually full body demons. I even made feet. I made like 3-toed boots they kind of put on and stuff. So
do you still have that, or has that been kind of like
this sold out, I think, in one day within the first
of
day.
course.
But
no, I mean also like the prosthetics that you made. Did that get to stick around, or did that kind of rot, or?
I know the feet got destroyed. The other thing about foam latex is it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
Because you're whipping it up. It's done. Whipping up all the chemicals with air bubbles, doing whatever it does. And solid stuff will last for a while. But if you ever seen videos where like Rick Baker is redoing, or someone is redoing the American Werewolf in London Wolf for Rick Baker, they still have the armature, fiberglass and all the metal rigging and all that. But guaranteed that face rotted off probably back in the early 90s. If once latex is glued onto something, all those stress points where it's fastened into place, that all eventually just gives way and just rots.
Yeah, man, I have
stuff I don't have anymore.
Dude, I have a right up here. It's I think it's a Topstone. I have a few Topstone masks, and I'd have to look and see. I think that one is from around like the 60s or maybe 80s. I think it's 80s. But I'm so sad because it's starting to, when I first got it, it was in very good condition. I don't know what I've done, but it's cracking up at the top of the skull head. It's cracking at the chin. And I'm like, oh my God, this really does happen, because you don't want it to you hear people say that, like, oh yeah, that's the thing about old latex masks and stuff like that. If people collect them, is you have to basically just keep them in like a controlled, air controlled room, because they're gonna fall apart. They're gonna deteriorate, and it's so sad to just watch that thing sit up there and rot. It's still a cool mask, but it's just like, damn it, I can't really touch it anymore.
The rubber masks with for Halloween masks or just any whatever. I mean, that's just a one-part latex, so those last years and decades longer than the foam latex does. The foam latex is soft and porous, so wherever like the air bubbles are and stuff, it just eventually just gives way.
God. man.
So yeah, I know. Like, I had my first cable controlled demon I ever did. It was a full head, and it had 3 different cables in it. And for once in a while, that's when I kept aside or whatever. And over the years, I just see it. I'm like, oh, there goes the ears. The ears are letting go. I'm just like, oh, I just slowly watch them decay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing the same thing over here. But did you have some others too?
Oh yeah, that's right. So Cryptic Plasm got released in Japan on Blu-ray, and our friend Hiroshi, let me look at notes really quick. Video Violence releasing in Japan, in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually sealed. I kept this. I'm going to keep this sealed, but that's the Blu-ray, the standard edition Blu-ray for Cryptic Plasm,
Dude,
Japan.
I love that cover because that looks like something that you would have seen.
Yeah, that's
not that I lived in those times, but like in the 80s, like VHS store days,
yeah,
with like the crazy covers, like that looks like something you would have seen because it's kind of like punk looking in a way, and like
you know what that looks like? That looks like a cover of The Accused.
Which
the Return of Martha Splatterhead. Have you? Because it's yellow. That's what I didn't realize it until you just said that. That looks like a cover from the band The Accused.
Hold on, I'm gonna look. I just wanted to see what that looked like. Maybe I can show the.
I think it's
the
called
chat here.
Return of Martha Splatterhead. I'm pretty sure that's the.
Oh, is it got like a demon chick on the front?
Yeah, all twisted looking.
Like that. If you guys can see that, that's pretty freaking cool.
And then they also put out a limited edition. I think, how many was this? I think this was 200 copies. They did a slipcase, and the cover's actually different. It's more of a subdued cover. But I was basically told all 200 copies sold out in 10 minutes.
Dang.
What? I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. So okay, I guess, it's pretty cool to be working with Japan.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I would say, I mean, that it's just so different over there. Like the way that, the way that they view gore and stuff, it's just a part of the culture, with like the, all the mangas that they have, like the guys that do like the tentacle porn shit and all that, like, or what's that guy that does that? Do you? Yes, that guy.
I'm in the middle of reading Uzumaki right now.
Dude, my friend Tyler had like introduced me to him about a year ago, and he was like, "Dude, you gotta check those out." Because I was at a Barnes and Noble, and I saw, I think was it called like Shutter or something?
Oh yeah, yep, I've got that one. Yep.
It's like it was a hardback manga, and I guess it was like maybe like they were re-releasing it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Everywhere around here now.
Dude, I wish I would have grabbed it because I looked at it, like it instantly caught my eye. And I never heard of the guy before, but I remembered the cover and I kind of flipped through it and I was like, well, maybe I'll get this. But my dumbass didn't.
8 of his books so far.
You're what?
I've grabbed about 8 of them so far. I've got 2 more waiting to be read. Uzumaki is huge. It's like 600 pages. But I've read 4 of them. A bunch of them are just short stories. I think Uzumaki is the first one that I read, and that's a full story. But yeah, they're awesome. They're fun.
God. I bet. Do you almost look at them too, like almost like a not a storyboard, but like
do you ever like that? Yeah.
It's like, man, I wonder if I could do that. Something like that. Like
it's totally different type of medium, a different way of reading and looking at a horror story. So
yeah. Now, do you ever look at the images though and think like, oh, I wonder if I could recreate something that like that, or
there's some stuff. I mean, a lot of it is just so over the top that it would be very hard to do. But then he does a lot of really nasty, eerie looking body horror.
Yeah.
One thing something I've been doing in Abysmal Purgatory. Originally, I was going to do more of it, but something he does a little bit is I can't remember the name of the phobia, but it's the one with holes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it right now.
I've done some effects. Like I was supposed to do up a girl like that a long time ago. Well, we've been shooting this for like 3 years, so like 2 years ago, it was actually going to be her abdomen. I actually made for one of her breasts. It was going to be all done. She was going to have holes in it and everything, but she ended up that just went badly. So she's not in the movie anymore.
Shoot.
We don't speak anymore. But anyways,
Oh
so
no.
I just like, I made these pieces for nothing. But I ended up taking those pieces and using them for other stuff. I'm like, you know what? I can make it work for this. So actually, the torso I'm making right now, the top portion of it, it kind of goes up to like the top of the stomach, and that one's got all the holes in it and stuff. So I'm finding ways to get it to incorporate into other characters.
God, there's just something about like that look that is just, oh my god, dude, that's crazy. What also makes me think, and I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off from getting to the next thing, but you had posted a picture on your Facebook of you holding like the what do you call the molt or whatever of a spider that you had, like
Oh
a
yeah.
dude, I'm freaking arachnophobic. Like spiders scared the crap out of me. And just anytime I see someone handling one, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, that thing's alive. This guy's he lives in a dungeon. Like this is crazy. Like but
No, that one you couldn't handle. That thing was aggressive.
oh yeah.
Not as bad as the ones that would rear up and stuff. It never reared up, but like when I put a cricket in, that thing would just bolt out of it.
Nice.
And it got really big. I mean, that thing was large. So there was no way. It would have been dangerous for it anyways, because it's fast, it was skittish, and it would probably want to either run up my arm, or it would want to run out of the cage and go somewhere. And if it fell, it had like a big abdomen, it probably would have killed it. So
oh
it was
gosh.
just, it's one of those ones you're not supposed to handle at all for its own safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just happened to find that about a month ago. I was doing a big cleaning in my room, and I was moving stuff, and I had them behind. I'm like, oh, I totally forgot I had these things. So I'm like, oh, I can take a picture of this thing.
That's cool. But I'm sorry, did you have some other stuff? My apologies.
Those are the only ones I brought down here. I didn't think to actually bring the actual, the DVDs we sell, because I'm thinking, I'm like, I post about them all the time, but yeah, I probably should show them if anyone new on here.
Yeah, you made a post recently. It was the Cryptic Plasm that I had. But it was like you had 4 DVDs, and you were selling them.
We had a sale. When we do conventions, those are the 4 professional DVDs that we sell.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other ones, like the older movies, they're on DVD-Rs that we make ourselves, because we're either sold out of them or we never actually release those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the 4 that we sell on eBay. But when we do conventions, we sell them for like $10 each. So because a lot of times when people go to conventions, try to talk people into buying a DVD anymore.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not going to ask $20 or $15. They're $10 each. I think online they're like 15. I think septic might even be 20, and then there's shipping. So we had a sale, and we just did, we did the $10 each with whatever the shipping ended up being to the person's address. Mm-hmm. So that's what that was all about. But mainly because I had a very large repair bill on my car. And I was like, crap. So we're like, we got to have a sale. We need to sell some DVDs, try to make some of this money up.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder to collect and to steady collect when, as we get older, and they're just, just things that's going on in life and work and everything else. And it's like, you start selling stuff that you wish you never sold. And it's just like, and then it's like, you have, like, my excuse is like, well, I'm paying, such and such for Amazon a year, which I really don't understand why I'm paying that, because I really don't see the deal that I'm getting. But, you can go on like Amazon Prime and watch movies and stuff like that. And it's almost like I've gotten to that point where that's what I do instead of getting like a physical. But I hate that feeling, because I like to support someone's actual work, if I can. But it's just a convenience thing where it's like, oh yeah, I could get it, but it's right here, $3.99, click, or like, or whatever it is.
I'll still rent. I'll rent new stuff and everything. I'll rent if I don't have it and you can't find it anywhere else. But
yeah,
if I really like the movie, I have to own it.
yeah, I agree with that for sure. I know, and we wanted to get into this, but so when you're talking about like atmosphere and stuff, atmosphere in your movies, how you're really big on atmosphere. I want to ask you one question before get into like the next part. Do you see yourself doing something that uh wouldn't like here in the future that wouldn't be about gore as much as it would story? And because I was watching, you when you were doing your YouTube um videos and you were like doing like top 5 movies and you were talking about different stuff, and you did one and you showed that Call of Cthulhu uh movie that was like a silent film.
Yep.
And that just got me to thinking, like I wonder if he's thought about doing like more just um atmospheric, or not that your films aren't story driven or anything, but taking the focus off the gore and onto just the straight characters for the full length of the film kind of thing.
I definitely do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always thought it'd be fun. I would love to make just like, I love ghosts and haunting stuff. I'd love to do one without any gore and any blood or anything, just try to make the scariest movie I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like what I mentioned earlier, I got so lucky. I never thought ever that we would end up with like a fan base that we have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are the reason why. The fan base is what drives me to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're known for our gore. We're known for the crazy, makeup effects and all that. So no problem. I know our movies they expect us to deliver certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no problem with that at all. As much as it'd be fun to do a ghost movie or whatever. I know people buy our movies for what we do. We're known for outrageous gore and special effects. So it's fun to do. So I have absolutely no problem with making sure each movie delivers that way.
Yeah.
The only thing that gets difficult sometimes is trying to figure, how can we top ourselves?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure that gets challenging, but it seems like to me, I mean, with like these video violence and Vinegar Syndrome, or like the one below it, like taking interest in getting your release. It's like slowly but surely, you're being exposed to even more people now, which is really cool.
Like, it's over the last year, it just kind of, I mean, not totally blown up, but it's gotten way bigger than it ever was. We went 5 years while making Septic and everything. Even when a little bit after releasing Septic, there was nothing. We went like 5 years with like no attention or anything. We released Septic, and then all of a sudden people are taking notice of us. And then some of our older movies get re-released, and also I'm like, wow, it's been really interesting to see how this has been progressing.
Yeah.
Actually, this weekend, maybe tomorrow, I don't know if it's 3 days or 2 days, but in Germany, there's an independent horror festival, and Septic's debut in there.
Oh, so, that's cool.
What's it? Ultravision from Germany. Friend Thomas Heigl, he actually has a cameo in the end of the movie, but he's releasing Septic, and so they're premiering it in at that festival, in that convention. I think they're screening it. I can't quite remember, but they're having a screening party. So they're having a release party at the convention for Septic. Oh,
I feel like you would be like, I could see you being very popular in Japan. I could see you being popular in Germany, because what is it? Is Ola Ittenbach, is he German?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, and he's kind of like that's his films, just like crazy gore stuff, it's incredible. Like, what is it called? Proteus or?
I almost just said Prometheus.
Yeah.
I just said Prometheus. I'm never going to get the name right, so that just messed me up.
That's basically like a remake of like almost like his version of like Evil Dead in a way.
Yeah.
Because it just gets
gore.
Yeah, dude. It's so awesome. Like, but I really hope that, them showing your film, like, do you get like contact from a lot of people from Germany that purchase your films? Like, is it?
Germany is definitely our best customer.
Oh, okay. So it's like you're already really known there.
Yeah,
That's cool.
from what I've been told, which just sounds, I feel weird even saying it, but supposedly, yeah, I've gained some popularity in Germany, which just seems so bizarre to me. But
Dude, that's so cool.
supposedly we do very well. Oh, actually, I know we do very well in Germany. So, and Japan too, which is Japan is interesting because we never hear from. Unfortunately, we never hear from our Japanese fans because it's a major language barrier.
Right.
You don't realize how much there actually is, but when I see like, you know, there's tons of German fans on like my Facebook list and everything. I talk to a lot of them, but I never get to talk to any Japanese fans. Slowly, there's been some coming up, and like, so I get a friend request for them. But then when I talk to Hiroshi, he says, "No, your movies are very popular here." I'm like, "Really? Okay, cool."
That's so like when you're getting them released in Japan, are they overdubbing them in Japanese or are they
I
like
don't think
Japanese subtitles? Oh,
I don't think Japan ever dubbed any of the movies that get released there because even the old bootlegs we used to get before you could get stuff on DVD and everything,
mm-hmm.
everything always had Japanese subtitles. I don't remember ever seeing like an Italian movie or an American movie on a Japanese release that was dubbed. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I remember them talking about it. Said because they actually Septic played in Tokyo at a film festival in December, and I remember him telling me that he was getting the subtitles done. I had to send them a subtitle script.
Oh wow.
So,
Dude, how cool is that? Like you like played in Tokyo. Like you can say your movie played in Tokyo. That's pretty freaking sick. Like
either a year before or 2 years before that, they same guy Hiroshi. He played Cryptic Plasm in Tokyo.
nice. And was it did you get like a lot of good feedback from that? Like
He sent me photos, everything. Again, I don't get any feedback really from Japan because again,
right.
I get it's a major language barrier, but he speaks perfect English, and so he messages me, and he took photos. He took photos of like the Cryptic Plasm logo up on the screen and everything. And he
Mm-hmm.
tell me how you said it went over very well. He said Septic went over very well. They loved it. So I'm like, oh, great, awesome.
Nice. So I wanted to talk about also your band Syoth.
Right.
Is that how you say it, Syoth?
Syoth, yep.
And also like mixing that with either like paranormal stuff, occult stuff. I don't know how to word that exactly. But then because like we were going to talk about paranormal stuff, I remember when I talked to you last time we were talking about cryptic plasm. You were saying that you guys were either Destination Truth was on and you guys were really liking that and it kind of like inspired, I think is what you said, you inspired like that idea.
Yep.
So like I guess like before we're getting to I guess the paranormal thing or whatever, how are things going with Syoth and what how long have you been wanting to do it and eventually you just acted on it? Like, what is your as far as like metal and music, like what was your inspiration for, choosing like black metal as your musical medium to like,
Yeah, the first CD. Um, if everything goes well, I'm gonna release it towards the end of April. I'm hoping. If not, it'll be in May or whatever. But
mm-hmm.
the first CD is basically, I would say, 25 years in the making.
Wow.
Simply because,
Dang.
when we were back in high school and stuff, we tried getting a band. Me and friends, we tried getting a band together. I met through another friend. I met a drummer, and the whole time it was just me and him. We could never get anyone else together in the band. We could never found a singer that would do the vocals we wanted, and no one had a PA system or anything. So I remember messing around just using an amp, and you could barely hear him.
Mm-hmm.
Bass player, forget it. We could never get a bass player because one of my friends is, how am I supposed to keep up with that? Because even when we first started,
Yeah.
I remember I remember we'd be in my friend's bar and jamming when I was like, I think we were seniors in high school. And actually, so the first full song that I wrote is actually on the demo that I put out a few years ago. And so we were playing black metal. Well, when I was back then, in the late '80s, I was playing black metal.
Oh wow.
So I mean, the first song I wrote for a serious song I wrote was "Save the Witch, Burn the Priest."
Nice. That's a good
We
title.
actually lost a guitarist because of that song. We were trying to get people together. Another guy had agreed, and he heard that song. He goes, "I can't be playing stuff like that." And he got all freaked out. He's like, "Sorry, guys, I'm out." We're like, "Whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Our first logo, the first thing we ever did was we called ourselves Mortuary, and I made a
Oh,
big
nice.
banner, and it had the pentagram behind the logo, had the inverted cross on. So it was just something about it. Just the evil music, satanic music, whatever.
Right.
It just has a mood to it. It has it's a different type of atmosphere, and it comes through in a lot of the riffs. That's how I really got into like the second wave of black metal. Like when I was listening to when I first got into Bathory back in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the thrash bands and stuff, but there was something about, especially on the third album, Undecided the Black Mark, he would do certain riffs and he would add a little bit eerie like keyboards in the background, and it just affected me in a way. I was like, wow, this is incredible. I've never heard music like this. This
Mm-hmm.
is different than the straightforward thrash stuff. And then in the early 90s, once I started getting into like, I found, I discovered Emperor, Immortal, Mayhem, and everything.
Yeah.
And just the way they would construct their songs, I'm like, because I was already bored with death metal. Back then, there were so many Cannibal Corpse clones coming out that I
Right.
was just getting bored. I'm like, the thing I liked about thrash is, there was a lot of different riffs. The riffs would go all over the place. The death metal was just
Yeah.
chunk, chunk, chunk. I'm like, I'm getting bored.
Yeah.
And then when I discovered the second wave of black metal, I was just like, oh my God, this is what I've been hoping for. And
Mm-hmm.
I became obsessed with it. And it brought me back to that because I even went through a phase where I couldn't get a full band together. And I tried when I was like Symphonies of Sickness from Carcass. When I first got that, I really got into grindcore. I just couldn't believe how heavy they were and how
Mm-hmm.
just vicious they were. And I tried doing some songs just because that's what I was listening to, and it never
Yeah.
the death metal grindcore thing never clicked with me. I just didn't come natural to play that type of music. So I
Mm-hmm.
went back to the black metal stuff. I started writing more black metal songs, and it just took forever because I always thought, all right, I got to get a band together, but I couldn't get a band together.
Yeah.
Finally, I just said the hell with it. At one point, got a drum machine, so I could actually make full songs. And then they got to a point where I got sick of using a drum machine. I'm like, it didn't feel real. But
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like I was doing CGI music.
Yeah. I mean, it would almost sound maybe like how, and forgive me if I'm wrong, like I don't know a ton about, because there's many facets of black metal, and like that wormhole goes so freaking
Oh
deep.
yes,
Like, but didn't like Burzum do that? Like he had like a drum machine,
I
and
think
then
he played drums. I'm pretty sure
did
he
he? Oh,
played drums.
okay.
Maybe later on he did, but I'm pretty sure he. I think I don't know, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he actually played the drums. He played all the instruments on that.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I
I'm
then
sorry, I didn't mean to.
oh,
This I
no,
was just yeah. But go ahead.
but yeah, I got sick of using the drum machine, so I said the hell with it. I bought 2 used drum sets and I put them together so I could have the real double bass. And my drum set is actually sitting 3 feet that way. And I taught myself. I was like, screw it. I'm determined. I'm going to learn how to play drums because I'm like, I'm not going to get a band together. I'm not. It's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And to find like at least 2 or 3 other guys that you get along with and everyone wants to do the same type of music, I said, screw it. I'm going to do the one-man band thing. But it took a very long time, especially with the drums. One day it just clicked. All of a sudden I was playing drums. It was weird. It took over a year.
Yeah.
It
It.
took me like 15 years to get my blast beats to where I wanted them.
Oh, sure.
Finally confident, and I'm very happy with what I can do now. So that was another reason why I just didn't record, because I'm like, there's like, I did a song at the end. It's in the end credits of Fetus,
Mm-hmm.
very noisy, whatever. But and there was a song actually at the end of Bone Sickness, but I would lose. I'd lose the endurance. I would lose the rhythm. My arm would be killing me. So I
Yeah.
was like, no, I can't record. I can't do a full CD. I did songs for ends of credits for the movies. Then finally I said, I'll put these together. Let's make it a demo, call that the demo and put that out. And then finally I said, okay, screw it. I'm doing a full album because I had all the songs already.
Let me ask this, like when it because obviously the riffs and the drums and stuff like that is one aspect to it. Like, where did you go to internally when it came to the writing? Like, what were you trying to convey in your lyrics? Like, what? Because that's what I've struggled with when I write music. I can always like kind of write riffs. I've always been more of a guitar player kind of person than being able to pick up drums and play. I've tried. It was one of those things where it's like, this is going to take a whole other like years of me learning this, and I've already got this down pretty good. Like, as far as like you writing like the lyrics and stuff, did that just always come natural for you, or?
Actually, yeah, in a way, because I remember that cousin that got me into, you know, Kiss, Black Sabbath, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We used to write songs back then. We would just we'd both sit there and we'd write our own songs and then be like, yeah, blah blah blah. Just we'd kind of like scream them out and stuff.
Yeah.
So that memory just popped in my head. So we were doing it way back when I was kids, and it got to a point where it was difficult because obviously you wanted to do really serious stuff and everything. But sometimes I can't write I'll go a year without being able to write anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I knew I was taking it serious to make the full CD, I'm like, I need lyrics for this song. And then I would come up with like what I wanted to go for. And then I remember one night I wrote 4 songs out completely.
Damn.
I was like, it all just vomited out of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it just comes naturally and it's no problem at all. Other times you have to wait until you're inspired enough.
It's cool. Like you did you did like you might have done more than one, but I just know of one that kind of like a music video type thing you did. And it's been a while since I've seen it now. Did you post that, or was that on like YouTube or something?
YouTube.
Where was that?
It's
Okay, that's right. Because I remember I love that video. It looked so cool. The fire and like you just like playing, and then like the robed figures and stuff. Like, what's so badass about that is that like you've like created like a world with like your special effects and like your movies, and then also like doing like like one of the most intense forms of music, like black metal. Like being able to like, okay, well, I've wrote the music, now I can put video, like I can put a visual to this too for people to enjoy. Like that's so cool. Like it's so immersive. Like you can do so much with that, because I feel like that heightened the experience. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh man, this makes a lot more. It makes more sense almost, if that makes sense, because it's now I've got like the visual.
Oh yeah.
And I can feel it, and I can like really get sucked into it.
What's interesting is when we were shooting the video the song's called Beyond the Baphomet.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I wanted, the cult members, they're doing like this ritual or whatever. And my friend was asking me, he's like, you gonna do gore effects? Is it gonna be gore and stuff? I'm like, no. He's like, why not? I'm like, this isn't about gore.
Mm-hmm.
I said, for me, when it comes to black metal, gore has nothing to do with that.
Right.
You see that weird, twisted, disgusting looking thing. That's what I wanted to see in the video, but nothing needed to happen to the 2 cult members. I didn't need to have them dismembered or anything. That's not what I was going for.
Right. It's not death metal. It's not like just mindless killing basically or whatever, Yeah.
I mean, the tone of like the stuff I do, I mean, I want it to get under people's skin. I want to creep people out. I want to make them feel uneasy. I mean, black metal is not nice music.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, I'm more into very atmospheric looking stuff, ritualistic looking stuff. So that's basically what you'll be seeing. I plan on shooting a new video this year for the first song on the new CD. and it's called Destroy All Gods, which is also the name of the CD. So I'm planning on shooting a video for that.
Dude, just that title sounds like a fucking classic. Like, like that sounds like something. If I like, even today, if like I saw that album like title come out, I'd be like, oh shit, I gotta listen to that. Like that's got to be some of the heaviest shit out right now,
This is the European release. They did get released in Europe. Rob Kuss, who did Zombies from Sector 9, he started an independent small record label.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked if he could put out Syoth. So that's the European release of Syoth, Destroy All Gods.
Now the cover, is that from? Was that like made, or was that like a physical image and then you took a picture of it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually. This didn't come out quite at all. It's too busy. It looks too messy. I had an idea in my head. When I had it in front of me, I made the set and everything, and it came out the way I wanted. When I looked at it in person, I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I could not capture what I saw in front of me on film. It was pissing me off.
Oh shit, that's some
I
real.
took so many photos, and I just kept going through them, and then I narrowed down to about 10. I was happy at first, but now I look at it, I'm like, it didn't capture it.
Yeah, it's basically like what you made was almost too dark, too evil to be captured on a camera. The camera's like, I can't conceive of this evil. Like,
well, I mean, the behind the scenes of it, I did this by myself. I didn't need anyone else around for like crew to just do these photos. So I did this on my own. But when I had to do like the band, who I am in the band, I'm like, I need photos. I'm like, crap, I've never done this before. I've never had to think about doing promotional photos for me as, a musician.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rich George helped me because he's totally into the music and everything. So I'm like, he'll get it. He knows what he likes. He's a huge fan of like Morbid Angel. And, I remember when they first came out, you see photos and it's like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to be the one taking the photos. I knew he'd get it.
Yeah.
And so we did tons of photos with that. But one thing I mean, a lot of people won't like, but we did use a prop and a certain book, and we lit it on fire.
I wonder what that would have been, huh?
That's actually what's in the middle of the photo, and that didn't pick up very well either. So that, that's like right in the middle there. And again, it didn't read well. I also, I used the filters to give it like an older look.
Mm-hmm.
Because clean, again, I was like, it didn't capture what I wanted. But as far as one of the photos, I'll just say, I was going to post it at some point, but I never found the right time to do it. Maybe I'll do it once the album comes out. But we did some shots, and maybe we made a big fire, and I was standing behind the fire. And this was after using the book and all that, and setting it on fire and all that stuff. But this was just shots of me, and I think I had my guitar with me or something. But we're looking at one photo, and we're like, that's weird how the fire just kind of curled or whatever around. Rich is like, that's weird how it curled around you. I'm like, oh, that's an odd photo. And Rich is like, wait a minute, that's not you. You're over there. You're back there. You can see that you hold, there's the headstock of your guitar. It was a whole flaming face in front of me.
Holy shit. Do you have that picture?
I can't bring it up right now, but I'll post it at some point.
Holy shit, dude.
But we looked at the photo and we're like, okay, that's fucked up.
Oh my God.
I only really showed it to one other person because it just never comes up in conversation. But Jess, she was here at some point filming, and it came up. So I showed it to her, and she was like, holy shit, what the fuck is that?
Oh my God.
So yeah, we have one photo from that shoot that's
cool.
Odd.
Dude, I want, because, all right, so we can kind of talk about that, because me personally, I'm not like religious. I don't agree with anything that is like that. I don't like when something is trying to keep you in the box. I feel like life is about experiencing things and living outside the box, and just doing whatever you like. You can call that like being a Satanist or whatever, or you can call that being an atheist. Like, that's kind of how I guess I would classify myself, maybe I'm more of just someone that likes to experience like different types of things like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm here on this earth for a certain period of time. It's like, you know, it fascinates me to be, you know, I've never had I've had weird experiences, you know, like me and friends, like we went to like this uh um uh abandoned school that
That's
was
cool.
out on this road called Payne Road. And Payne Road is well known in like uh uh Winston as like kind of like a haunted road because there's a lot of old tobacco barns, a lot of really old houses, dilapidated houses and stuff. And it's weird too because this particular road, dude, when you at night, it always seems to be foggy.
Oh yeah.
Like it's so it's like it's kind of cool like how it always seems to be that way. But we went out there and there was like, you know, weird noises. Like when he walked into the gymnasium, you know, like the big like fluorescent lights
Yep.
and stuff. Literally, when I opened the door into like the gymnasium part or the gym, like a light fell, and it must have been like attached to like a cord,
Yeah.
like the power cord or something that was wired in or something, and it fell and it was just dangling. And I was like, shit, we just got in here and already shit's kind of getting kind of weird. And so there wasn't really anything else that happened. Like a friend of mine was like, dude, I saw a face. And so he comes screaming down the hallway, running like, we got to go. I saw a face in the window. And, you know, we're like, everyone's just trying to spook each other at that point kind of thing. But I've never had anything as much as I've wanted to, like to experience something to be like, oh man, there is something on the other side. There is something that I can't see. Cause people talk about like that, you know, the different dimensions. And when people talk about aliens, it's like, oh, well, aliens, like there's so many different, obviously, theories on that alone, where it's like, well, they live on the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension or whatever. And so they can see us, we can't see them. And then some people believe like, you know, all these different theories, right? It's just crazy to me. But I've just never seen anything that made me think, wow, you know, like that's real. Like, have you had, you know, you're speaking about like the picture and seeing the face and the flame and stuff like that. Like, have you ever experienced anything that you knew without a shadow of a doubt, like this wasn't right or this was abnormal, or maybe you even tried to manifest it? Like
What's
with
interesting is like people will talk about the cursed films and stuff. I just had this conversation with someone, you know, because like The Exorcist is dealing, you know, some of the stuff they did with The Omen, they're dealing with satanic imagery and everything.
mm-hmm.
I don't believe any of that shit. That's just to sell tickets. That's all
Right.
bullshit.
Yeah.
It makes people go, no way. Oh, I gotta get the movie. I don't
Yeah.
believe in any of that because I mean, honestly, I don't consider myself a Satanist because, again, that's just another thing of religion, and I don't believe in the devil or anything because that's just Christian. It's a Christian-made scare tactic.
Yeah.
So, but with the music and everything, and of course, what I do and everything, I'm surrounded by satanic imagery all the time, and nothing ever happens.
Right.
It ever happens. We okay, yes, that one photo came out. Who knows what it was? It could simply just be the fire, but it's a creepy photo. But the whole time, for like I don't know, an hour or something, I'm walking around with a flaming Bible. Nothing bad happened.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. I didn't get struck by lightning. So when it comes to that stuff, when it comes to dealing, I had a girl refuse to be in a Reap of Evil back when we were making that because there's a scene where a crucifix inverts and then blood pours out of Jesus's mouth.
That's fucking sick.
And in order to pull off that effect, I had to drill a hole in Jesus's face. Nothing bad happened.
Right.
Absolutely nothing happened. But that girl was freaked. She's like, I can't be in that movie. I can't be in that movie. Not at all. But so I just wanted to point out that, yeah, satanic imagery is a part of my life. It's part of my lifestyle. My music, even though I'm not a Satanist, my music is satanic. I am anti-Christian. My music is totally 100% anti-Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing bad, nothing, ooh, oh my God, you can't mess with that stuff has ever happened ever.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I just want to point that out because everyone's like, you can't mess with that stuff. You can't do this. It's like, it means nothing unless you let it mean something.
Yeah, I mean,
For me, it's just I'm against religion. I hate what religion does to people. And yes, I come from, it just happens to come from a satanic type viewpoint.
yeah.
Um, but
My
now,
thing,
as far as paranormal stuff,
mhm,
yes, we've done stuff purposely, and we've had results.
really,
Oh well, I mean, all right. I will say also, I'll touch a little bit more on the more darker occult type stuff, but I won't get
mhm,
into it because I don't really talk about it. It's personal or whatever.
I
I have done,
understand.
I have done rituals. I have done like black magic type rituals, and I have gotten results. I'm able to get results to help other people. I can't do anything for myself.
Hmm.
I've never even tried because I feel like it's not going to work. That's not going to happen. But I've done other things to help other people, even though that should be good magic, but it was done in a darker sense, whatever. And
Right.
it worked. I've done revenge stuff and it's worked.
Oh
That's
wow.
all I'll say about that because I don't do it to be like, yeah, I'm doing these fucking rituals. Who
Yeah.
cares? I'm not going to, no point in bragging about it. The only reason why they happened is because I felt motivated to do something. But
Yeah.
now on the more occult side, another thing a lot of people are like, can't do that, blah, blah. Other people, some people like, yeah, that's awesome, no problem. They sell it in toy stores. Ouija boards.
Right.
We've had great results with Ouija boards.
Dude, my fiance, I've tried to get like I bought one. This was years ago, probably when we first started dating, and like I was like, I want to do this because I had a group of friends that told me that one night they did it, and it was something about like there was a date or something that it pointed out. It was like 19 something, 19 whatever. And they said they went out in the shed that night and they saw that number in like this old shed because they were renting this older house. It was like a house probably from like the 70s or something around there, like an older house, and it had like about an outbuilding. And they were just like, dude, like it just weird stuff started happening. Like stuff started, like they were saying after that point, like stuff would like move and things like that. But it's like I'm never there for those cool experiences. It's like, and so I feel like a lot of times people are just pulling my leg or just trying to
Yeah.
give me hope that there is something
It's
there or
hard
whatever.
to believe.
Say
It
what?
is hard when it's difficult to believe in it. And you can't, even when you're doing, you're like, are you pushing it or whatever? But it
Mm-hmm.
got to a point when we were using it at a friend's house where instantly the thing would just stop working. I mean, you could barely, two people would barely touch it and it would start doing a figure eight right away.
That's crazy.
What's interesting about this, I miss hanging out in this house, but it's the house actually. If you do end up seeing Reap of Evil, my friend Dana, he's got a beard, very short hair, and there's parts where there's actually like an earthquake that happens, and he's bumbling around in his kitchen. That's the house that we used to do the Ouija board in, and in that house before his father bought it in the 80s or something. I don't know when it was,
Mm-hmm.
but it was vacant for 9 years because the father killed his daughter in the living room and then went out into the barn out back and hung himself. So there was a murder suicide in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just like, well, let's try to contact the guy.
Right.
um, I don't know why we never tried contacting the girl. Maybe we thought it was disrespectful because she got murdered. We're like, she's not gonna want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But apparently, we contacted the father, and he was the one that always would stop moving the board right away. So it gets to a point where you're like, are you doing this? But then it got to the point where it was moving so fluidly, and it worked for no matter. We had like 10 people, we'd have parties and stuff. Whoever was on either side of the board didn't matter. It would do the same figure eight at the same speed. And
Dang.
then there was a couple of times where it was just four of us. It was just four of us hanging out, and we would be using it. And what happened? It was I wasn't using it. I think it was my friend and his girlfriend were using it. And they
Can I,
stopped, asked a question, and all of a sudden we heard footsteps in going across the floor upstairs.
Oh, that's creepy. And no one else was there that you knew of.
No,
Right.
it was just the four of us because his father lived, it was his house, but his father always stayed with his girlfriend. So it was just my friend living there, and we'd come and hang out. So there was no one else in the house. And we were just like, oh, like I remember going numb.
Yeah.
And we're all just like, did you just hear that? Yes. All right. So we're freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
And I have this thing, like, I
bet your blood just went cold. You're just like, oh, shit.
Oh,
like, that's real. Like,
and another thing that happens to me when I love getting scared. I kind of feel bad for people when they say they can't get scared by a movie anymore. When I'm watching a good horror movie, I turn my brain, I'm invested. And if something good happens, I'll jump. I can get the scared shit out of me. And I love it.
Yeah. What I have to do is I have to watch it alone in the dark.
Yeah.
And then that way I'm completely vulnerable to what's happening and my imagination starts running. And then I can scare myself. But
yeah,
if I'm with like my fiance or something like that, it's like, oh, that ain't scary. What's that? I'm just, whatever.
Yeah. And if you like doing with friends and stuff, and you have this type of atmosphere, I can freak myself out. And when that happened, I get this when I'm totally like, oh my God, my eyes will start tearing.
Yeah.
And that happened during that. I'm just like, oh my God. And I just couldn't believe
Holy shit. Did you, when that happened, like in that feeling, like that's something I wanted to ask with the Ouija, like using like the Ouija board, like did, when it's moving, did you feel a certain type of way? Because in my mind, when I hear about people doing that and they're all, it's almost like, I don't know what the scientific term or anything that would be, or if anyone's tried to explain why. And I understand that other, paranormal things happened around you guys and stuff like that. But I've always tried to figure out, like, is there something that happens when people sit down and they kind of do something like that together where it's almost like you don't realize that you're moving it because everyone else is touching it and you're almost like, it's almost like you're shifting weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And controlling it, but you don't feel like you're doing anything. Like, I don't know how to explain what I'm saying, but
I never felt odd while doing it. The only feeling that I would normally notice is trying to keep the right pressure on it and not put pressure on it.
Right.
That's the only thing I was ever going through my mind, was making sure I don't make it go because I'm pushing too hard.
Right.
And trying to like only just rest your fingers on it so you don't accidentally be pushing it and not realizing it. That's the only time I've actually felt something through it. I can't explain it. I just know what we did worked. And I can't explain how that thing moved the way it did.
Dude, that's so cool. Like, I wish I could say that I've had that kind of experience. Like, but I once again, I never had someone that, that would do it with me. I try to get, my girlfriend, she's like, hell no, get that out of the house, kind of thing. So like,
the footsteps happened a second time. There was a time where it was just me and my friend Dana hanging out, and we were using it, and it was like 11:30 at night. It was late too. And also, oh no, I got this wrong. Sorry. The footsteps happened once. This other one is the one that freaked me out. I felt bad having to leave that night because he's like, oh, I gotta sleep here. But
like he's sleeping there by himself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Rooms upstairs where the noises kept coming from.
Oh God.
So it was just me and him using it, and we're asking questions to the owner of the house, the former owner, and I don't remember what we asked, what we're talking about. And I don't know if we had stopped or if he stopped or something after answering something. I swear to God. Well, that means nothing, swearing to God.
It's just a figure of speech. I got you.
I'm dead serious that we're sitting there and all of a sudden it seemed like it was from upstairs. Could have been from everywhere. All of a sudden we just heard a deep moan.
Oh, shit. Fuck that.
Fuck. Freaked the shit out of me.
Oh,
we actually right away were like, okay, we actually knew his name, but I can't remember his name now. But like, okay, well, we have to go. I think you can understand. We have to say goodbye right now. We put it to goodbye. We let go. And we're both like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Oh my God, dude.
Oh. I got tears running down my eyes. I'm just like, he's just like, God damn it, man. I'm like, you heard that, right? He goes, yes, I heard that.
Wow. So like even with having like those experiences, like dude, because obviously I just don't feel like I've had anyone kind of tell it like you do, because it just sounds like 100% like it happened. You know, it's like, I mean, you're hearing the footsteps and then you hear the moan. It's like, obviously you're telling me that other people experienced it. It really happened.
Mm.
It's like, it's just crazy to me that you experienced something like that. Like,
Rich George was there for some of it, and every once in a while, even not too long ago, I'll confirm with him. We were, I think it was at the Halloween. We had a Halloween party in October, and we saw it. The subject came up, and I asked him. I go, "These things did happen, right?" He goes, "Oh yeah, definitely." He goes, "Believe me, sometimes I wonder." I'm like, "Did we just imagine that?" And then we'll talk together and confirm the different things that happened. It's like, yeah, that really happened.
oh my gosh,
It was
like
awesome. I loved it. It was just so cool to, experience that.
I think what it is, I think I'm just jealous is what it is. It's like I wish I can say that I've experienced something without a shadow of a doubt, that something just otherworldly happened, you know, or ghostly or whatever. I've always wanted to. It's like when we would go to like places that were, you know, haunted, or like these old dilapidated buildings and stuff like that around, I was the first one in the door.
Yeah.
Like I was with a group of friends, so obviously I wasn't scared, because we'd protect each other. But if someone was like a crazy hobo or something was in there, then I'd probably be the first one to die. But
Yeah.
I was always just like, you know, maybe I'll experience something if I'm the first one to go, if I'm the first one in here. And it's just like, it never happened for me. Like, so with
The problem with that, I think, like I used to love any type of paranormal TV shows back in the late 80s, early 90s, because there wasn't that many of them.
mm-hmm.
The problem with them now is like I don't watch any of them anymore. I can't stand any of the ones, because now they're faking it just because they got to have ratings. So
Yeah.
I think they're in reality, if you go to these like supposed haunted locations, the chance of experiencing anything is like 1%.
Right.
But stuff only happens once in a great while. The reason why a lot of people don't like Ouija boards is because I think you're kind of like opening a portal and you're inviting it in.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. It's like you got to open and you got to do the thing to close it, or you're
Yeah.
fucked, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. We always made sure we did that. We always did the goodbyes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess that's why we actually had some experiences, because we're actually inviting them in. Whether that was bad or not, who knows? I don't know. But we experienced it. We had fun, and we never died from it. So
That's so awesome.
I would love to do it some more. But yeah, all right. Here's something where I'll actually say where I'm cautious now, which is I thought of this not too long ago. I'm like, damn, maybe this is why we haven't used the Ouija board or anything in my house. Is back then it was like at my friend's house. Me and my sister did it when we lived at home with my parents, and I've done it at other houses with friends. I've never done it here in my house, so after I got married and stuff, because we've always had pets.
mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't want to bring something in and put one of my cats at risk.
Mm-hmm.
When I thought of that, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, yeah. That's how I actually feel about it. So I don't, I was kind of surprised by my reaction to it.
Yeah.
But then I realized the reality. I'm like, okay, if this is really happening, could they be affected? I'm like, I don't want to put one of my animals at this. So that's one of the main reasons why I've never done it in my house.
Nice. How many cats do you have?
Right now we have 4.
4. Nice. We have 2.
At one point we had 22.
You had how many?
22.
Holy shit! Nice.
We got
Were they
into
wild and you just kind of were taking care of them, kind of thing? Like,
we got into fostering a while
yeah.
ago, and then one of them escaped and got pregnant, but we didn't realize it until we got her back in the house. And a few weeks later, all of a sudden, what's she doing on the couch? And we were like, she was about to give birth. So, and we end up keeping all the kittens, and then found some other people like, oh, you guys help. We helped with a local animal shelter, and we brought in cats from them because they're like, oh, you guys take care of this one. They've got kidney disease. They're not going to make it. And So we take in animals and stuff, and at one point it got ridiculous.
Yeah, my
It was
mom
still
basically kind of did the same thing. What would you say?
it was still doable, but at sometimes it was just like, this is too much.
Yeah,
We loved every one of them, and over the years, eventually, they did pass away, and then we're actually down to 4, and they're actually 4 that we didn't have back then. So all of our original ones unfortunately passed away, which was the other thing that sucks when you have that many, is having to deal with the passing away so much.
yeah,
That takes its toll on you.
yeah. My mom kind of had the same thing where she had a cat, and then she let it out. It was out. Like to be out, and she let it in. Eventually, got pregnant, and it had. Then the next thing you know, she had probably around the same number, a bunch of cats, and then it was just like hectic all the time. Just all these cats in the yard, and they would just be hanging out underneath the deck and stuff. But I've always loved animals. Like I'm just like a huge, like I love my 2 cats. They're basically like our kids. Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
I talk to them like they're human.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like we do the lamest shit. Like Elisa will be like, she'll be like, did the kids finish their homework? And I'm like, oh my God, shut up. Because she'll be joking like they're, and I'm like, God.
What was the most difficult thing about that, but also strangely sometimes easy, was I think when I shot Blood Pig's hair and I shot Cryptic Plasm, and Fetus, I shot those in my house. We had like that many cats.
Oh, wow.
So all those scenes in Fetus, like in the living room and stuff, there would be times we'd have someone over and they were like, how many cats do you have? Oh, we have 16, we have 18, whatever it was at the time. But then we're like, look around. They're like, where are they all? They all had their own spots because we made the house. So we're like, there are beds everywhere and stuff. Sometimes it would get a little difficult filming because it's like, okay, here, put them in this room, put them in this room.
Yeah.
We can trust these ones until you hit the record button, and then
then instantly they want to just get right in the scene.
Yep.
Like our cat likes to, like, when we lay down in bed to, like, watch a little TV before going to sleep, he likes to jump up on the counter right in front of the TV, and he's black, so it's like you just see like his silhouette and just a black void on the screen.
Yep.
And I'm like, Binks, get out! You're not in the scene. You're not in this part. Get out! Like, move it.
We made it work, and we have fun with it.
That's awesome. Well, we've been going for about 2.5 hours. I don't want to keep you too much longer.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that
long. But I really thank you coming on. If you'd like to come on, dude, we can do this again. I'd be more than happy. We can talk about it, doing it in the future or something.
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to do one where we're just talking about horror movies and not even this stuff or anything, I'm fine with that.
Dude, I would love to do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, this is fun. Enjoy it.
Do it. Dude, I just really, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on again, and I really appreciate just like what you do for currently for the horror genre and giving people honestly just super awesome movies to watch. And I'm really looking forward to Cryptic Plasm, and I want to talk to you about the Syoth CD too, or getting your music, because I would like to give it an actual listen, because I haven't been able to.
Okay.
So I'd like to get with you for that. But you guys, you can definitely, if you're interested, because I'm probably going to put this on YouTube. If you guys are interested, you can purchase his films. I think if you you go to eBay and you go to Morbid Vision Films, you'll find it.
Morbid Vision Films on eBay. Yep.
Okay.
We don't have the website anymore. We don't do any more business through our website, and we actually just let it lapse because it got to the point our software was so old and everything. So we don't even have the website. We do everything through eBay now.
Okay. So you can just go to eBay and do Morbid Vision Films, right? And you'll be able to purchase the films there.
Or type in the movie. You can type in Septic and just make sure it's Morbid Vision Films that's selling it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, dude, thanks again. Hope you have a good night, and I will talk to you later.
Awesome. Thanks you.
All right, you guys. You have a good one. Thank you so much for tuning into the Horrible Horror Show. Later. Well, thank you, you grotesque, maggot-infested morsels from the morgue, for tuning in for this episode of the Horrible Horror Show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you could, please like and subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you receive notifications every time we post a new video. Look forward to more content to come. So we look forward to seeing you guys there. And make sure you come and dig up a grave and rot with us. See you next time.